Want to travel the galaxy on a luxurious Starcruiser filled with some of the coolest, kindest, most brilliant people you'll ever be lucky enough to meet?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did we just become best friends?
Yep.
Yep.
Tonight, we're paying loving tribute to the most incredible, emotional, state-of-the-art, immersive storytelling experience anyone's ever created. I'm talking about Disney's Galactic Starcruiser. And we cannot wait to tell you about what we experienced on board the ship and about the amazing people who make up its phenomenal cast and crew. I'm John.
And I'm Bridget.
I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Keifer.
And this is the podcast where everyone is welcome, even your droids. This
Is
Board
Game Cantina.
Stepping into a new world, looking around at what dreams are made of. On board the Halcyon, you gave us a voyage that lasted forever. Looking out the window, traveling across the galaxy. You brought us together, our hearts and minds, to fight the First Order and be free. And we do it again whenever you need. Yeah, we do it again, 'cause it's our honor to be in your world, our honor to be in your universe. Looking up to the stars, you'll be in our hearts. Oh, oh, and it's our honor. Showing us what heroes are made of, with strength and love, and how to be a better person no matter what star you're from. Looking deep into our eyes, you showed us it's never wrong doing what's right. So we're with you for life, 'cause it's our honor to be in your world, our honor to be in your universe. Looking up to the stars, you'll be in our hearts. Oh, oh, and it's our honor. It's our honor. Together as one. 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 It's our honor to be in your world, our honor. It's our honor to be in your universe. Looking up to the stars, you'll be in our hearts. Oh, oh, and it's our honor. It's our honor. It's our honor. It's our honor. It's our honor.
Welcome back to Board Game Cantina, and welcome to our guests, Keifer and Jennifer. A little over 2 months ago, we met you when we voyaged on Disney's Galactic Starcruiser, and it was such a life-changing, life-affirming experience that we've been talking about it ever since. We started planning this episode right away, and tonight we're going to be mixing drinks and playing games pretty much like we always do, but we're going to use the format of this show to honor the Halcyon, which is the name of the Galactic Starcruiser. The Halcyon's cast and crew is so special to us, and we really wanted to pay tribute to them in a way that feels distinctly Board Game Cantina. So before we talk about what we're going to be playing and drinking, we should give some context for those who haven't maybe traveled aboard the Halcyon. That'll make it a little easier to understand why we're doing what we're doing. So what is the Starcruiser exactly? Keifer, I feel like you actually had a pretty decent way to sum it up for people. Do you want to share that?
Yes, it's a little controversial because I'm bringing in another franchise, but
We're crossing franchises.
yes, if you're familiar with Star Trek and the holodeck, I think that the way to describe it that makes the most sense, that encompasses really what it is if you were in the 24th century and you walked onto the holodeck of the Enterprise and said, "Computer, I want a 48-hour immersive experience that is in the Star Wars universe."
And I want to be a character.
And I want to be a character in it. Computer begin program. That's what it would be.
And it just wraps you in Star Wars on the holodeck.
Such a great description. I love it.
That's
Great analogy.
Yeah.
That's very apt. It is so intensive and so detailed that it's kind of mind-blowing. And I've heard people describe it like Westworld. There are a lot of live action role-playing experiences you can have these days, but none of them, I think, go to this level.
No.
It's very special. And so much of the reason for it is the cast and crew. They bring a level of human kind of bonding moments that happen that I was completely unprepared for. Bridget, I don't know about you.
Yeah, I was very unprepared for it.
Really special.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what they're going for as far as the feeling. As far as the experience itself, you are meant to be taking a luxury cruise, totally carefree for a few days in the Star Wars galaxy. And then some things ensue. Some Star Wars, you called them Star Wars hijinks. Star Wars appropriate hijinks ensue that I think were maybe hard to market because they're meant to be a surprise. You're meant to think I'm on a normal cruise in space, like you would normally have in space. And then other things besides what we planned are going to break out. And there are multiple storylines playing out simultaneously. And I think you guys have experienced some different ones to what we have. So that's part of why we thought it would be fun to talk with you.
For the order.
For the order.
Man, okay, we're getting started early. Yeah, that you have the option of being first order loyalists on the ship, and the characters doing that part of the story are really compelling. Like, it's surprising. There's Jedi related storylines. There's a scoundrel path, complete with a full-on heist, which we're going to be talking a lot about in this episode. That is one that really attracts a lot of people to want to get involved in it because it's very special, very emotional for people, has some real world relevance. So that makes it interesting. The key of all of this is you get to choose. You get to choose which story you want to live. And that, I think, is part of what makes it so memorable. So we'll be talking a little bit more about our experiences on the Halcyon later tonight. So as far as what we're going to play, this is a game called X-Wing Miniatures. It's not a new game. It goes back about 10 years. It's been revised and re-released a few times, but it involves these beautiful ship miniatures, which you can pilot around on your tabletop, attack and defend. And most of the time when people play X-Wing Miniatures, it's a straight up dogfight. The object of the game is to shoot down your opponent's ships as quickly as you can. There is another aspect of the gameplay that I never actually delved into as deeply as I could have, and that's scenario-based gameplay. And that's where you can use the ships and the game mechanics to recreate space battles from the Star Wars films or elsewhere in the canon, or dream up your own. So for tonight's very special Halcyon tribute episode of Board Game Cantina, we thought it would be amazing to develop a custom X-Wing Miniatures scenario that continues one of the most popular Halcyon storylines from the moment that it concludes on board the ship and pick it up where it most likely would continue out in space. So that's the goal of tonight's episode. We're so glad that you're going to be here to join us for that. Before we dive into that mission, though, we want to mix up something special to drink in honor of the Halcyon. So, Bridget, what's on the menu for tonight?
One of our favorite drinks aboard the Starcruiser is called the Gem of Ryloth, which they serve in the bar area called the Sublight Lounge. That one seems appropriate since our mission here is focused on protecting Gaya, who is not only a Twi'lek from Ryloth, but also happens to be the ultimate rock star queen. Why don't you join us in the kitchen, and we'll get started. Okay, here's everything you'll need to make this amazing looking cocktail. 6 ounces of watermelon juice, 6 ounces 7-Up or Sprite, purple edible glitter. It's weird, but super worth it. We'll put it in the show notes. A small pot of butterfly pea flower tea, a 1/2 ounce of lime juice, 5 ounces of egg whites, 2 to 4 tablespoons of powdered sugar, and some blue gel food coloring. Thanks to Anna Delernia for helping us figure out the ingredients for this recipe. You'll also need a kitchen mixer if you don't want to beat the egg whites by hand, a cocktail shaker or something similar to mix the drink in, and a strainer, a small teapot, a jigger, and all your typical gear for mixing and measuring. Some highball glasses to serve the drink in really help show off its unusual texture and color gradient. Like most things that happen on the Starcruiser, the Gem of Ryloth has layers to it. To make this beautiful drink, we'll layer together 3 distinct components: a glittery, fruity base, a flavorless but colorful float, and a foamy, whipped topping. To make the base, add some crushed ice to your cocktail shaker. Pour in 6 ounces of watermelon juice and 6 ounces 7-Up or Sprite, and stir it thoroughly. To make the float, brew a small pot of butterfly pea flower tea. Mix that with a 1/2 ounce of lime juice. The acid in the lime juice alters the pH of the tea, turning from its natural blue to a purple hue, more appropriate for rock star royalty like Gaya. You'll want to cool down the tea in the refrigerator or stir it in with some ice in your shaker before you add it to your cocktail. Lastly, to make the foam topping, beat a combination of about 5 ounces of egg whites, 2 tablespoons of powdered sugar. Be careful here. If you add too much, it won't thicken up.
Yeah, nailed it.
Nailed it.
And 6 large drops of blue gel food coloring. If you're using a kitchen mixer like we're doing here, you'll need to let it run for about 5 to 7 minutes. You'll know you're done when the foam mixture makes peaks that are stiff enough to stand on their own.
That looks better than last time.
Way better.
What did we do different?
I don't know.
You're too timid.
We didn't have
This
Jennifer.
time-
We didn't have Jennifer. That's what's
You
different.
gotta wait. You gotta let it keep whipping and whipping and whipping.
That's perfect.
Beautiful foam.
Yep.
Way to go.
Then assemble the drink. Start by transferring the base from your shaker into a glass and stirring in some purple edible glitter until you can begin to see it swirling in the drink. Then slowly pour the butterfly pea flower tea mixture on top of the base using the back of a spoon to slow it down and help it sit on top to create that beautiful color gradient. The slower you pour, the cooler it looks. Use a spoon to top the drink with as much of your whipped topping as you can fit. Then sprinkle a dash of that purple edible glitter onto the foam for a final visual touch. Fabulous.
That actually is really good.
Alright.
Genuinely, it's really good. It's sweet, but it's not as sweet as I thought it would be. It's just the right amount of sweet.
We did it.
We did it.
Good job, guys.
Hi, I'm Angela from Enchanted Ears podcast.
Braulio Ullman here, otherwise known as Brandon Johnson.
Hi everybody, my name is Gabby. I play the passenger created character Captain Vest.
Bright Suns from Batu. My name is Jay.
Good journey. My name is Labeth, and I am a former chemist who served aboard the Halcyon.
We are Princess and Scoundrel.
Yep, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Steven.
Hi, I'm Nikki. I'm a pharmaceutical study manager in Massachusetts.
Ooh, hey there everybody, Tom Moker, one of the co-hosts of Jedi Talk, a Star Wars podcast.
Hi, I'm Mars. I'm mostly known as Mars the Droid Smith.
Hi everybody, it's Nori Flying Star.
My favorite Starcruiser memory is some of the interactions that I've seen Lieutenant Croy have with the different people on board. There was a little kid and he claimed that he was a shapeshifter and that he was also a shark. And just listening to Lieutenant Croy, yes, and what this little boy was claiming and just like how surprised he was about what this little boy was telling him. It was just really memorable because it was such a special interaction for this other guest, but also just for anybody who was watching it. And that happened throughout, and just seeing those interactions were really special and memorable.
I never knew that I longed for acceptance for the nerdy side, the geeky side, whatever you want to call it, of me. The Halcyon connected me with people in a world that I love, longed to be a part of, and it was truly something magical. I appreciated every moment I was there, and I wish you well.
Who is my favorite Starcruiser character? At the risk of sounding incredibly on brand, it has to be Gaya. not just because Gaya is an amazing superstar or a really good singer, although all those things are true, but because she represents a real allegory for, marginalized people or people who have had something taken from them, that she's able to right a historical wrong, to return something to her people, and to reunite that which has been broken. She's a great example of a female character who doesn't have to be like physically intimidating or physically tough or a fighter to be able to be really important and to have a lot of agency and to be a mastermind, essentially. She's the brains behind the operation. Wraith is kind of her fixer, the one who kind of like helps her organize things so it doesn't get traced back to her. But she really is kind of the thought behind how that's going to operate. And it's really amazing how her storyline is threaded throughout the Halcyon storyline, how her music ties into the themes of her storyline and foreshadows stuff that happens later in her storyline. Yeah, I'm a huge Gaya fan. Gaya fan for life.
Can't even truly put into articulate enough words how I feel about this experience, as I said, here today. I have all of you in my heart and wish that people could have seen the Halcyon for what she truly is and how much that all of you put into your performances, your day in, day out, your tasks that brought a world to life for everyone.
The Starcruiser, I managed to go on 2 voyages, one with my friend and one with complete strangers I met on one of the Facebook groups, and they turned out to be family too. Every single person I met on my second voyage showed nothing but love and support and passion and care about the other people and about the Starcruiser. And I think that's what the Starcruiser means to me. It was a place where I was able to live my wildest dreams of connecting with other people. I realized that people appreciate me for who I am and my big emotions, and the character I played on the Starcruiser was me, and she was loved, and that made me feel really loved too. So I'm sad it's closing, like we all are, but I'm so grateful for the love and care that it's brought into my life and the connections that will last forever. Those don't go away with the Starcruiser closing. And that's what I'm holding in my heart today.
You know, when you live up on Deck 8, you're just full of so many memories. Wraith Cole came into the lounge. He offered me a job aboard Gaya's yacht. I obviously said yes. I was just so excited. And Gaya's up on the staircase now, overlooking the area room, being escorted out by Captain Keifer, and Rachel is just letting Gaya know what happened and that Wraith offered me a job, and Gaya was happy to have me, and I just burst with a nebula of excitement. And Captain Keifer said no. I mean, she was very complimentary of, recognizing good talent in my service. And I get it. I still had a contract to fulfill. But Wraith, I still accept. Whenever I figure out how to get off this planet I'm stranded on, I will gladly join you aboard. And I'm just ready for our next adventure.
Our podcast is primarily focused on Disney parks and Star Wars. So naturally, we spent a lot of time talking about Galactic Starcruiser.
Yeah, it means a lot to us.
My favorite cast or crew on Starcruiser is whoever I'm talking to at that moment. You can't pick a favorite.
Yeah, this is one of those where I'm gonna plead the fifth type of things, and not even plead the fifth, but just I can't pick there's not a favorite to pick because there's so many moving parts of that story that each one of the characters has their highlight. And then again, having Blue Crew there all the time, I agree with you. Yeah, the favorite is who I'm talking to.
Right. It's like picking a favorite kid. It's like I'm so proud of all of them that I want to give everybody a big hug.
Yeah. So
my favorite food is so niche, and we didn't know about it until the May 3rd voyage, but if you do Captain's Table on night 1, in between 2 of the courses, they give you the tiniest test tube of this warm miso shooter. It was the best thing I've ever eaten in my life.
I'm trying to think if it's different from normal miso, and maybe just because it's different, from the normal dinner stuff, is why it feels different. But I don't recall it being, and again, it's one of those I have to recall from memory, but I don't remember it being any different. It was just such a change from the normal Starcruiser food that you're like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever.
I think it was the best thing ever.
I'm going to say, because it is the thing that we always get, is the tip-yip and mac and cheese. I think that was the best thing. From the beginning, it had been the best, and it has been the best. And it's just that comfort.
So you're picking chicken tendies.
Exactly.
Okay. We were so lucky to go on Starcruiser at the very beginning when it first opened. that everything was unspoiled to us. We did not have to avoid anything. And there are so many story elements that are so delightful if you don't know that they're coming. Like Sandro, the Sammy reveal at the finale, the Rey and Kylo fight, and so many elements of that. Everything about it, it was almost like sensory overload, because there was like, oh my gosh, and then this is happening, and this is happening. And it was shocking and wonderful and new. And I feel so happy to have experienced it that way.
I think to piggyback off of your sentiment of that we were so lucky to go towards the beginning where we weren't spoiled. The other part of it was after leaving that voyage, we weren't trying to spoil it for anyone. We wanted to, scream it from the rooftops, here you go, check this place out. But we try to keep it spoiler free as much as possible, even towards the end, because there was that sense of hearing other people's stories about their experiences and how they enjoyed these things and the big reveals. I think those were the coolest moments for me, is seeing somebody else experience it and being a kid again. I think that was the coolest moments for me.
On the Starcruiser, I was a droid dealer from Naboo who sometimes sold death sticks. My favorite crew member on the Starcruiser is definitely Wraith. Even when I tried to avoid the heist, I was always hanging around being friends with him through all my 4 cruises, so he's definitely number 1. My favorite food on the Starcruiser is the purple ube cookies. I still regret not taking as many as I could home, but I did find a good recipe, so it's all good. And my favorite Starcruiser memory was after the finale on my 2nd cruise. I talked with Saja Fenn, who notoriously is good at making everyone cry, and I am no exception. I had a really emotional moment with my friends earlier in the day, and I'm not super good at putting myself in the middle of scenes. I'm way more of an observer when it comes to Starcruiser and in general. But so I went up to her to say, thanks for including me in such a special emotional moment with my friends. And that really meant a lot to me when I'm usually more of a background character. And she hit the nail on the head, and she told me that I wasn't a background character, and my story, no matter what it was, it really mattered, and whatever I did was special. And that really made me reframe how I looked at Starcruiser and life, but I think that was a really defining moment on the Starcruiser, and definitely my favorite on my time there.
Lady H, the Halcyon, Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser. What the hell does it mean to me? It's unconditional acceptance of who you are or who you're meant to be. And that's the best way I could say it in so many words. My favorite character from the Halcyon Lady H has to be, and she's now a top 10 all-time favorite Star Wars character for me, but it's Captain Riola Keevan. You changed my story on my 2nd and final voyage, and I did not expect to go in there and experience that type of transformation. My buddies and I always call the Halcyon life-changing, but that experience, given my character an opportunity to do that, was a life lesson for sure. Thank you. Ooh, favorite food. If you could just let me sit in the sublight lounge and eat the flatbread, maybe I had too many libations there, but that flatbread is absolutely perfect. And finally, my favorite Starcruiser moment, and my God, there's so many. And they include the ones I didn't experience myself and the ones I've heard from the fans, but this Kyber crystal that I'm wearing, this purple Kyber crystal, is my wife's. She wasn't able to cruise with me, unfortunately, but there's a Saja out there. Saja Fan helped me bleed her purple Kyber crystal. I bled it into red, and she helped bleed it back just with her words of guidance and wisdom to me. I'll just leave it at that. It was such an emotional, moving moment. I will never forget it.
The Halcyon means a lot to me because I wouldn't be where I am without the Halcyon. I was in a very, very bad position in my life where I was depressed, and my wife and I were trying to have kids, and over 5 years it wasn't happening. And I was trying to find ways to combat that depression, and COVID happens. So needless to say, it got a bit worse, especially when you're cooped up, but I wanted to learn a new skill, so I learned 3D design. I ended up making greeblies from it, and I posted online. People wanted to buy it. It kept going. So that was basically the skeleton of my Etsy store. And then they announced Galactic Starcruiser, and that's when my store just took off. I started making a lot more new designs, keep getting more references. People are buying my stuff. Eventually, it became part of my life, part of my daily schedule, that I am designing, I am 3D printing, and I am just making greeblies for people and put it on the store. And it became part of my life where I don't feel depressed anymore. I was happy. And because of the new source of income, I was able to buy the annual pass holder for my wife and I for Disneyland. And because we've been going to the park, I've been involved in a lot more Star Wars stuff while she's just more involved in the whole Disney stuff. Slowly, mentally, we're getting better. And financially, we're also in a better spot. And eventually, it just leads us to being happier, and it finally happened. We got pregnant. I was able to release the creativity block that I was in. I was out of the depression, and I'm living the best 2 years of my life ever since Starcruiser was announced. And the Halcyon means a lot to me, to us, because my family would not be in this place without the Halcyon.
I'd love to call out the Sasha. And I don't want to cry. So give me a second. Sasha Dax. Sasha Fenruna. Sasha Kier. Sasha Marnix. Keithan. Tyser. Tiro. Grayson. Libby. So many. And if I left you out, I'm sorry, because I'm getting teary. You all inspired me. As a lover of history and a lover of the lore of Star Wars, I felt your call to become a part of the Saja Order. And it was an honor to be asked to stand with you during the finale of my last cruise. I will never forget that, and I think that it will actually continue to be a part of my life. You all just captured my imagination, and I felt like you really gave me a place where I could belong on the Starcruiser.
Just want to give my dearest and most heartfelt thank you. May the stars light your way.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you to everybody.
Thank you. And for everyone on the Starcruiser, may the stars light your way. Tabuite.
All right, we're back from the kitchen. We've got our drinks in hand. Why don't we cheers each other? Do you guys think we should cheers?
Yeah.
Great.
How do we cheers on board the Starcruiser?
Tabuite.
These drinks turned out so beautiful. I've actually got the purple light from the Halcyon helping light mine up here.
Oh, that's tasty.
Oh, yes.
It's
Very
beautiful.
Really good.
Very good.
Are we happy with how it turned out?
Very happy.
Yes.
This felt like the right drink to honor Gaya and the Starcruiser with.
Yeah.
Now, we did a little bit of a variation on this drink compared to what our audience saw us do in the kitchen.
Yes.
Because, spoiler alert, this is a different day.
What?
And also, spoiler alert, in between the kitchen and sitting back down, Bridget and I went on the Starcruiser again.
Yay! Surprise.
The short little walk from the kitchen.
It was a quick jaunt. Thanks to the magic of
Thanks
editing.
for waiting for us.
Yeah, you guys were super patient. We had an unexpected opportunity to do a cabin share with another passenger, which we originally said no to. And then after our first trip with you, we were still in the ride share on the way back to the airport. And we said, yes, let's definitely do it.
You made the right choice.
Boy, because now we
did make the right choice.
We had a much clearer sense of what we would want to do. I don't know about you. I really did not know what I was doing the first time. And I tried, I researched it, but there's a way that the ship and the stories kind of work that you just understand better once you've gotten to see it once.
I was all over the place on the first trip, and I was still a little bit all over the place on the second trip that we just went on. But I was slightly more focused on what I wanted to do, and I knew how to do it.
Yeah. I thought you were doing great.
Well, thanks.
Because the first time, she had a little bit of a flirt with the First Order experience.
For the order.
And you
I got
guys
a shoulder
are like,
tap.
You guys are like First Order experts.
Oh, we are loyalists at this point.
Croyalists.
Croyalist, absolute Croyalist.
And yeah, like you made it look really fun. And I could tell Lieutenant Croy on that previous voyage was sort of trying to get Bridget to flip. I was like, you're not really going to do that, are you? And she was seriously thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
This time we went into it a little bit more prepared, and it was super fun to watch.
So did you get flipped?
I did.
Oh, I love
Nice.
I did. I was on a scoundrel first order path.
Yeah, it's really hard to stay away from Wraith no matter what path you're doing.
Yeah.
It's really hard to stay away from Wraith.
Yeah. For audience members who maybe have not familiarized themselves with the Starcruiser, Wraith Cole is a kind of scoundrel type. He is Gaya's manager on the ship. So that's why we actually had a little bit of gameplay and some card effects that we didn't necessarily get into in the game, designed with Wraith in mind. And I actually think this scenario has a little bit more replay value than what I was expecting. I thought it might be a one-off way to celebrate, but now I kind of actually want to play it again.
Yeah, I think you could definitely play it again.
I'm pretty certain I could get Gaya's ship if I did it a second time.
think
I'm
so?
I
pretty-
think
I'm
we could
pretty
take Gaia's
certain.
yacht
There
down.
would have
I think
to
you
be
might be right about that.
Some rule changes because I know how to get her now.
Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit more about what's going on in this scenario just to kind of set it up for folks so they understand what they're about to see. Like we mentioned before the kitchen, there is different storylines you can be involved in. Characters will come up to you on the ship and tap you on the shoulder and look you in the eye and say, I need your help. Will you help me? And it is so hard to say no, especially if it's Wraith.
Yes. Yes.
I've heard a lot of people say that, like, yeah, I had a whole plan worked out of what I was going to do. And then he opened his mouth and I was like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing.
Wraith pulled us in on both of our voyages when we did not plan on being a part of that whatsoever. Both times.
We are the lovers of
We are the
Ryloth.
lovers of Ryloth because of Wraith.
Yeah. Yeah, you have a whole like history in Star Wars canon now.
We do. We have statues on Ryloth because we were able to cause a distraction and make it possible for the heist to take place.
Right.
Incredible. Yeah, so they're a very, very popular storyline, perhaps the most popular, dare I say it, is the heist storyline, which passengers can get involved in helping with. And it is, at its core, a story about repatriating a cultural artifact that has been stolen long time ago. There's a lot to it. I won't be able to do it justice in this episode. I think it warrants more discussion, quite frankly.
Definitely.
Because it has some very real world relevance. There's a lot of lessons to it. What I appreciated most is Disney was going to use this theme park experience as a teachable moment.
Definitely.
And that's not something I think would have occurred to me that they would do in this kind of a context. I thought that was really remarkable. So, Bridget, would you hold up that stone?
Yes.
So this is a replica of what is called the Haya Nenea stone.
Way to hold this up. I've had that song in my head for 3 days.
We're all
now.
going to be singing it
Yes.
for the rest of the week.
I love it.
Gaia sings several songs over the course of her performance in the dining room. And what's so great about it is she's essentially telling the audience what there is to know about this storyline, and it's all kind of hidden in plain sight. One of the songs is about the stone. It's one of the lost singing stones of Ryloth, now part of the lore of the Twi'lek culture. It was taken at some point, traded, probably changed hands many times, and somewhere 275 some years earlier, it made its way into as a component of the navigation compass used by the Halcyon Starcruiser when it was first built. That eventually became passé when navicomputers were invented. They didn't need it anymore. But the reason it was used is it gives off a sort of signal or an impulse to the person who's wielding it. That is partly why we wanted to try and incorporate that into the gameplay, as though it might be influencing Gaia's pilot of how to fly her ship safely. And so it was actually part of navigating the Halcyon. And as part of this heist, you can be recruited into a storyline where you are going to help swap it out for a counterfeit stone, Indiana Jones style. Some passengers are recruited into creating a distraction so that no one notices.
Yes.
On our first voyage, when we were there with you, I was in the room right next to the heist as it was happening and did not know. And I had done a lot of research and prep before this trip and still didn't know. I think there's still a ton of stuff I don't know about the Halcyon.
Oh, I don't think we'd ever learn every detail.
Yeah, I feel like we're just scratching the surface. But I was so enamored of that concept that you might go home from your trip and have there be entire aspects of this experience that you're just oblivious to. A lot of it happens behind closed doors in various rooms of the ship. This happens right out in the open.
Right in the atrium.
In the atrium. Because it's just on display as almost like a museum piece. So Gaia, and in fact, I had to ask Gabby, who is the community member whose cosplay character is Bess the Scoundrel that we built this ship for. I had to ask because this is a complete subject matter expert on Gaia lore now, who I will just automatically turn to. I said, how does the stone get off the ship? Is it in Gaia's luggage? Where does it go? And Gabby said, Gaia clicks it into a piece of jewelry that she's wearing the whole time and walks off the ship in full view of all the passengers right in plain sight. That's kind of Gaia's whole style, is doing it right in front of you.
Yes, that totally makes sense.
And you're so hypnotized, you're just like,
you don't even
notice, which I also thought was brilliant. There's some brilliant writing in this story. So that's why we thought next thing that happens is probably a space battle over the stone. So we wanted to show this as a point of reference for the audience, so you understand that as you look at this custom battle scenario that we're about to play out, it's over that stone. And what you're going to see is Gaia in her yacht, which she originally rolls up to the Halcyon in.
Get me to hold that up.
Yeah, why don't you hold that up? We'll get some insert shots of it. But you actually see this ship out the window of the Halcyon when you're on the bridge. And what we were so fascinated by is you will only see it if you happen to have bridge training at a certain time.
Yes, that is true.
So they designed a whole look for the ship. They created it in 3D, modeled it, and put it outside the window for you to see, just for the handful of people who might happen to be there.
I never saw it.
We got to see.
You did?
Did
Had
you?
that
Yeah,
bridge
we got
training.
to see. On our second voyage, we got to see it.
Oh, that's great. Jackson, my youngest, became really enamored of this idea that someone got to see it because we didn't. And then he started wondering, like, well, would it be possible to model it and turn it into a tangible artifact? And I was like, I don't know, man. That sounds like a lot. So surely someone will do it someday. And he kept talking about it and kept talking about it. And we were like, well, we do want to do a Halcyon episode. Maybe we should see if we can get, some hotshot artists to help us. So we recruited a small army of people who did a kind of relay, which was so heartwarming to watch how everybody leaned into this effort. The sequence went, we crowdsourced the question to one of the Facebook groups. Hey, who saw Gaia's yacht out the window? Does anyone have any good pictures or video of it? They put those into the thread. We recruited Mario Sahardi, fabricator of lots of amazing cosplay and artifacts from the community. I asked him, I said, could you help us model and print one of these? And he's like, I can definitely resin print it for you. I got just the person to do the model. That was a young man named Nick, who we sent off the photos to. He essentially had to eyeball it off of the photos. And I was like, okay, well,
There's not a lot of reference material.
no, it is so limited. And I was like, just do your best. It does not have to be exact. It's fine if it's just sort of an approximation, whatever. And if we couldn't do it at all, we would have just proxied in some other ship from the game. But boy,
It looks so good.
it looks just like what you see out the window. The next challenge became the colors, because once he sent the 3D files back to Mars resin printed it, overnighted the model to me. We unwrapped it, got all excited, drove it up north to my friend Kim, who's a painter, miniature painter who I used to game with a lot. I sort of pulled her out of retirement. She hasn't painted a long time, but this was something that would get her to do it again.
It was great. She unwrapped her little paintbrushes, her tools came out, her paints came out.
It was like John Wick going to the basement and digging up all of his equipment to come out of retirement just for this.
Her paintbrushes were under a cement slab.
Yeah, she had to jackhammer him out of the floor. And man, it was really special just how everybody kind of like partnered up to make that possible, to be able to see the ship right there in front of us in real life at the right scale. It has a docking ring on the side where the airlock would be, and we wanted it to be more or less where you would connect up with the airlocks on the front of the Halcyon, where we all come in from our launch pod after we blast off from Earth. Really great.
So I loved a little touch in the bridge training where you see the yacht. Wraith is complaining because they have to use, what are the loading droids to help bring the yacht towards the ship.
Oh.
And he's upset because they're scratching the yacht.
Oh.
So it's just a fun little thing that Wraith does during that experience.
Oh, that's
Yeah. As passengers, you get to learn how to drive those docking drones, and you're actively involved in helping dock her ship.
Yeah.
And we just noticed on this trip yesterday, as we're taking the launch pod home, looking out the window, they're also using those docking drones for your launch pod, which I had not spotted on the first trip because I was just overwhelmed and not really processing anything I was seeing.
This is so off topic, except that we're talking about what you see out of the windows. But I just learned that at one point you can see a Purgil out of the window from the atrium.
Oh,
really?
Never saw it. I've seen a bunch of people on social media post about it at this point, so I know it's really there, but I'm so sad. I never saw that or never even knew it happened.
Oh my gosh, I wish I'd seen that.
That's
neat.
perfect.
Yeah.
Because they describe it as a Purgle class Starcruiser.
Right, right.
And now they're a whole thing in the Ahsoka series, giving us all awesome feels going back to Rebels. Can't remember if they were in Clone Wars also, or if that was a new creation for Rebels.
I don't remember them being in
I think they were introduced earlier in Rebels, so that Ezra would have that Force moment.
Right.
Yeah,
I think it was the episode where the mining guild or something along those lines were tormenting the whales, and Ezra had to intervene.
That's right.
Yep. Yeah, so it's all connected now. On the first trip, I was aware of the heist, did not think too much about what happens after that. In my mind, I thought, well, she goes home to Ryloth, puts the stone where it belongs, everything is fine. But we were thinking about that scene in Force Awakens where everyone is calling in the hot tip about Rey and the other Resistance folks being in Maz's cantina. And I thought, well, that's exactly what would happen here, because on board the Halcyon, everyone has different loyalty. Everyone's got a different agenda. People probably want their hands on that stone,
definitely.
or want to profit from it in some fashion. And that's a real theme of the High Ionization stone, is people either profiting from it when it really is somebody else's property, or ignoring it. That was something I heard on the Heroes of the Halcyon podcast that really moved me. It was a comment about it not only having been taken from its people, but now like nobody cares.
Yeah, everybody walks by that compass on that ship every day, and nobody cares that that's not where it belongs.
Yeah, just ignoring it, and this whole time could be restoring it where it belongs. Like, it's such a moving storyline.
It speaks volumes to museums.
Yes.
Most of the artifacts in the British Museum are not British.
And nobody is doing anything about it.
Right. Yeah.
Well, there's more of a movement now to repatriate those
true.
items than there's ever been. I studied art history in college, and there was little talk about it just within the art history circle. But you never really heard, and you never seen any like newspaper articles or anything like that talking about repatriation as much as you are today.
Yes,
which is great.
Great.
Yeah. So seeing people being able to actively participate in a story. It's such a wonderful use of the whole concept of immersive storytelling,
Yes.
I think, to help people sort of have their thinking tweaked a little bit, or have their minds opened about different ways to look at a topic, I think is really special. I can't think of anything exactly like it elsewhere in our pop culture, but I loved it. And I loved how many people are involved in making it happen. It's a big portion of the cast and crew all coming together to tell that story, and a big contingent of the passengers all wanting to help tell that story. That's the thing that I love the most, is it's not like it's some tangent side story. Like, what does this have to do with Star Wars? I'd rather do this thing related to stormtroopers or lightsabers or whatever, and that's the real Star Wars. This is actually the storyline where I think they have to cap it, because there's too many people who want to get in on helping. That's really great.
Well, we were basically just standing in the atrium when Wraith looked at us and said, I see a connection here. I need you to do something for me.
You are a very important part of that storyline.
Well, yeah, and that happened the first time too.
The first time too.
It wasn't the same part.
Yes. The first time we were just standing there, and he tapped us on the shoulder and said, I need you to take this suitcase to Gaya in the Sublight Lounge. And we carried the suitcase with the coaxium in it. And the second time, he asked us to fake a proposal. So I proposed to my husband of 18 years.
And I totally bought it.
It was sudden.
And there were a lot of people in the atrium, so everybody started cheering for you. I remember that. I remember I was in the atrium. I didn't know what was happening, and all of a sudden I heard people cheering, and I think you were down on one knee.
I was.
Proposing to your husband.
Yes.
And I thought, oh, that's so wonderful. And I was like, wait a minute. I don't know if this is real.
He's got a wedding ring on already.
Yeah.
What is happening?
Bridget's the smart one. She figured it out. I did not. And because what I thought was, I bet just like on a real cruise ship, Halcyon is a real cruise ship. just like on other cruise ships.
Yes.
This is probably something people love to do. It's like probably a tradition already that I would love to propose in space.
Yes.
Like what more memorable way to do it?
Well, I actually have a friend that really happened to a few weeks after our journey. Her now fiance proposed to her during their photo shoot.
Oh,
that's amazing.
She, of course, was surprised. This was not planned, or according to her. She didn't know. So, yeah, what an amazing moment.
Oh,
That's
love
great.
That. I love that.
Yeah, so that's what I thought it was. And it was not until we were on the plane coming home, Bridget
And
said,
we ended up being on the same flight.
yeah,
on
we're on
way
the same
home.
flight. Bridget's
We
like,
were in the
isn't
same
that
row.
our
Yeah.
friends from the trip over there? And there you were. And she was like, you should ask him.
Yeah.
So they can confirm that I'm right.
That's hilarious.
She didn't say that.
Yeah, we
But
met
she
on
was
the
thinking
ship.
it a bit.
It wasn't that the four of us like went on our voyage together. We
Right.
met on our voyage and then ended up
Right.
on the same flight, on the same row on the way
Yeah.
home.
Just happened to notice. And so I just kind of hollered across the aisle. Was that real? Because part of me didn't want to know if it wasn't, because it seemed real, and I was.
It was
excited.
real. We're lying to you now.
Okay. Now I don't know who to trust. But what a neat way to sort of inject something that feels relatable and familiar,
Yeah.
so that you'll sort of fixate on that, and everyone is paying attention to that and thinking, how romantic. And even if they're thinking, is that real or is this like part of the show? What they're not thinking about is there a heist going on?
And then on top of that, you've got Sandro, who's a musician, singing over in the corner. And then you have the Saja, who teach the ways of the Force, doing basically the equivalent of yoga with the stormtroopers over in another corner.
Getting the stormtroopers to do it along with them.
Yes. So there's so much going on in this atrium that is meant to distract from the heist while it's happening.
Yeah. And it totally works. We were talking about this a little bit. It's so complex what they're pulling off that there is a leap of faith that they're taking, that the audience is going to sort of go along,
Yes.
know what to do, not get too confused. And the cast are so masterful at guiding you through it.
Yeah, it's true.
Especially Wraith. That is a complex, real-time project management endeavor like I've never seen. To get all of those people organized into an orchestrated effort is really neat to see. So we have a segment on the show called the Mission Briefing, and we've already started talking a little bit about what we're doing here in the game, but some of the quick details about X-Wing miniatures, it goes all the way back to 2012. That's when the first edition came out, and that's the original kit that just had the one X-Wing fighter and 2 TIE fighters. Pretty simple rules, your set of movement templates, a few tokens and cards, and that was it. And then they started releasing all the expansions for it. I played it a lot, and then kind of fell out of the game. It was originally published by Fantasy Flight Games, who does a lot of the prominent Star Wars games that you see in the room here, like Outer Rim, Star Wars the card game, Star Wars Armada. Armada came later as a sort of follow-up to X-Wing, where people wanted to play with Star Destroyers, which are not going to fit on this table at that scale. So they did a different scale for that game. They've technically rebranded it. It's actually not called X-Wing Miniatures anymore, but I insist on continuing to call it that. It's technically called Star Wars X-Wing now, I think, to be consistent with some of the other game titles. They re-released the game in 2018 with new ships and a new set of rules. There have since been 2 more new rule sets. So there was a 2.5 edition and a 3.0 edition. As far as where to get it, I always encourage people to buy from their local game store. The gaming community calls it the FLGS, the friendly local game store. If you don't have one handy to you or they don't sell that game, you can order directly from asmodee.com. You can find it on Amazon, Miniature Market, places like that. Now, the coolest way you could get your hands on a copy of Star Wars X-Wing is you could win it.
How do you win it, John?
That's a great question, Bridget. I'm super glad you asked. At the end of this episode, we're going to announce a whole lineup of Halcyon-related, Galaxy's Edge-related prizes that we're going to give out. Normally at the end of a Board Game Cantina episode, we like to give away a prize to somebody who won it after our previous episode. This time, we're celebrating the Starcruiser and its cast and crew, so we wanted to do something a little extra. So obviously, we want you to be able to win a copy of the game that we're playing here, so stay tuned. Last thing, as far as the ratings, I always like to see how is a game rated on BoardGameGeek.com. This game is super solid. The original first edition was a 7.6, which is considered pretty high. The second edition rates an 8.1.
That's nice.
Yeah, usually anything I'm very forgiving, so usually anything above a 6 is super fun for me. By the time you're up into the 7s and 8s, that's generally about as good as it gets. 9 is rare.
That's awesome.
10 doesn't exist, I don't think. It's a theoretical. So we've talked a little bit about this scenario. I wanted to just kind of set up in people's minds what has happened right before this, because the goal of the scenario was to continue the heist storyline from the moment Gaya disembarks from the Halcyon. She's back on her yacht. She's wearing the stone and would like to probably just get home safe and have a break from the drama for a bit.
She's got to be tired.
She's put a lot into her performance.
It's an exciting 48 hours.
Yes.
Probably a lot of emotional buildup, hoping to get this stone back, and got a lot of help from the passengers. But of course, things are not so simple for her as a Star Wars hero. So what we wanted to have happen was her security forces double cross her. The double cross is a staple of the
dare they
underworld
In Star
storylines.
Wars?
A little bit. That seemed like a natural thing to have happen. Now, who would Gaya, who has lots of underworld ties, have working as her security? Probably former Black Sun types or from a similar type of organization.
Definitely.
So we're actually using some Black Sun affiliated ships called Kyrax Fighters. Bridget, would you hold one of those up?
Yes.
I'm not going to lie. I partly picked it because it has purple in the colors. But they are...
It's subtle, but yeah, you do see it.
It's a dope ship.
Yeah.
It's got cool abilities and stats. So we decided that's probably... She's got money. She would hire good security, but she's not going to be hiring resistance ships or anything like that. So within the context of the game, like who would be available? It's probably Black Sun or somebody that used to be that. Kind of like how you might hire a former military contractor to work security in a outlying part of the world. That's kind of the setup, is that as soon as she's away, they turn on her, disable her ship, and leave her stranded for the first portion of the game. We didn't imagine Gaya's yacht, which there is not a lot to know about. There's not a lot of canon facts available about what does it have on board. We didn't picture it being covered with guns or...
It's a leisure yacht.
She's meant to be like out on her cruise, enjoying herself. So she would leave it to her escort. But what happens if they turn on her? Well, the first thing that came to mind is she has friends who can probably be watching her back. And Gabby, who I mentioned, the cosplayer, who's a frequent passenger on the Halcyon, is a huge fan of Gaya, both in and out of the universe, and has a pretty established backstory. And I asked Gabby, I said, what kind of ship does Bess fly? Has that been established? Immediately got a message back. It has worked out.
Oh, yes.
So the answer was it's the YZ-775. And I said, I thought I knew about Star Wars. It is a deep cut that goes all the way back to the 90s RPG. We'll see if we can pull up a photo to show how it would have looked in the source book if you were rolling dice and writing your stats down back in the 90s. And I thought, well, that poses a problem because if I want to have it out on the table, I don't know if there's a way to do that. Bridget, if you could hold that one up. This is the work of another artist who I found on Etsy. And this artist, I kid you not, specializes in obscure Star Wars freighters. Wow. And at one point, we were not going to be able to create the YZ-775. There was not going to be time to do it because he was about to go on vacation. I was like, no problem. Can we do something similar? It has cousins in the universe that could probably pass for it. But I said, if there's any way we can do it, I think it would be really special. I would love to see this happen. I'd love to see it happen for Gabby because Gabby has so much emotionally invested in the storyline. I kind of wanted to make it come true. So I just sort of planted the seed to see if he would do it. So this artist, Damon Royce, came back from vacation and I thought, well, there's no way. There'll never be time to do something this complex. It's just so detailed. I said, just do your best, even if you're able to do something. Our plan B was to have him do another freighter and paint it kind of similar to how Gabby would have envisioned. And we'd play with that and it would be okay. But literally gave me the exact ship in plenty of time.
That's awesome.
Every single cannon, turret, all of these little accessories, even the engines, all 3D modeled from scratch and magnetized so they are removable. Wow. So it would be easier for him to paint the detail.
That's amazing.
And get in there and really really
I'm going to hold it up
pay
again
attention to
because I just
detail.
think it's so amazing.
Yeah.
It's a very detailed ship.
So literally, like, there's a gameplay mechanic of rotating the turrets to point in different directions, and you use up an action on your turn to do that. If you want to actually reach in there and reposition those cannons so they're pointing the way they should be, he made it so that you could do that. So as much as I had thought, oh, this will be a neat thing to show on the episode, and then it'll be over, this is now like a one-of-a-kind art piece that's extremely functional for gameplay. I was blown away. I've never seen anything like it. Again, Star Wars community really rallying to the cause. Thank you, Damon, for all the hard work that you put into that. Really incredible. Another piece on the table I'll mention is by Kimberly Laughlin, who is in one of the Halcyon travel groups on Facebook. And I just happened to notice one day she posted this beautiful acrylic profile of the ship as though it was being projected as a hologram. And this is popular on Etsy, this style of artwork. She had taken a photo of the ship schematic that's hanging up just outside the dining room when you're on the ship.
Right.
Done some cleanup on it, and then turned it into this piece, and did not appear to be selling it or anything, because I was like, I'll just immediately add to cart. Like, how much is it?
How do I buy this?
And she's like, yeah, not really doing that. And I said, could we partner together to put this on the table for this episode so that people who don't know what the Halcyon looks like can not only see it, but see it sort of to scale compared to Gaya's yacht. That was the biggest comparison I wanted to make. Keifer, are you able to kind of slide Gaia's yacht over here closer to where it would be when it's parked? When she docks, it's essentially clicked onto the side of the bridge right here. And then I guess just kind of stays there the whole time she's on the ship, I would assume. I never really
Well, I don't
had a
actually
sense
don't know
of it.
that.
Or does it fly off and then come back?
Maybe I would think maybe there's a pilot who takes it off and brings it back.
Yeah.
Because they would need the pods to take passengers in and out 2x2.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's true. Yeah.
Something I hadn't thought about until this very moment.
Yeah.
Its nose would be visible from the bridge.
Yeah, I think the pilot must take it away and bring it back.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, and it can dock from either side. She's got docking rings on both sides of the ship. So yeah, this just having a tangible artifact like that allows you to examine it up close, start to ruminate on nerdy questions like we like to do. So we have an asteroid on the table that has a little space station built into it. Why is that? We were starting to think through in detail, how do we get Captain Vess, Gabby's character, into the storyline? How does Vess get into the fight and help protect Gaia with this special ship if Vess is also on the Halcyon? Because we have pictures of Vess on the Halcyon. We know that's kind of the whole point. How do you get out into space and onto your ship? So the asteroid base came to mind as perhaps this is something that Gaya has anticipated. I see Gaya as a character who's probably always one step ahead. Probably worked with Wraith to put some plans in place. Gaya probably worked with Vess to position her freighter in a nearby asteroid field. You see lots of asteroid fields when you're on the Halcyon out the windows. But then how to get there and start flying around on the table. The Halcyon has escape pods. The first thing you do when you board the Halcyon is a safety drill and a muster like you would do on an Earth cruise ship. So John, the same artist who created that little asteroid space station, also created some escape pods. And we painted them, it's hard to see in this lighting, but we painted them in CSL colors like the droid SK-620 who's on the ship. And the idea would be as soon as Gaya is attacked by her security escort, Vess gets the signal, is like, yep, exactly what we thought. Gabby said one of Vess's favorite quotes is, oh, God, I hate being right. Immediately starts shooting across the table toward the asteroid base, boards the freighter, gets into the fight, and then we're up and running. And then the last piece we thought is, well, there needs to be some sort of first order involvement.
Oh, yeah, of course.
We thought,
For the order.
Who better to drive the first order ships than some of our favorite first order Starcruiser fans? So those first order TIE fighters actually come with a version of the starter kit that they made that was Force Awakens themed. You could have a Poe Dameron style Resistance X-Wing and 2 first order TIE fighters. So we brought those in. And we thought there might be an interesting moment where Lieutenant Croy, who we believe has a little bit of a thing, maybe,
He has a very big thing.
for Gaya,
Absolutely.
might have second thoughts about what's about to happen, realizing there's this First Order blockade. They're probably going to shoot Gaya down. He's going to need to wave them off somehow without being obvious. So we thought, well, maybe an excuse he uses is the stone has been taken. He's probably signaled by some disloyal passengers. I can't imagine who would do such a thing.
Don't know who would ever tell Croy anything.
Who would immediately go to Croy and say, I've got some information you're probably going to be interested in.
Loyalists.
Then what? And so Croy might panic a little bit and be like, uh-oh, this is not the situation I was going for. Would maybe send secret orders to one of the TIE fighters and say, I need you to prioritize those escort ships, shoot them down first. We want to preserve Gaya's yacht because it's evidence.
Yeah, and the stone is on it.
This is an investigation. We need that stone back, which is CSL property, which is now under First Order protection. So he would have a sort of pretext for protecting Gaya's ship, thought was kind of heartwarming to think about. So that's where the scenario came from. We'll go ahead and roll into it. We'll let you watch as much of the gameplay as you can handle. It's a lot. We'll pull out the highlights and show that, and then we'll put the extended gameplay on its own separate video on YouTube if you'd like to see the whole thing in its entirety. And we'll see you back here in a little bit. All right, we did it.
Finally.
We got 5 cameras rolling on this bad boy.
Now it's time to have a spontaneous day of play.
Yes. So natural and unplanned the way this just came together at the last minute. Thanks for coming over and joining us for X-Wing Miniatures.
Yeah, we're excited.
So there is a lot going on this table. 2 months worth of planning, 2 months worth of talented artists contributing pieces. Rather than try to explain it all before we begin, let's just begin. And then we'll just kind of talk through the individual aspects of the gameplay as they come up.
Sounds
good.
Yeah.
So to get our first round going, we want to pay attention to the orange pilot skill numbers on our cards. So I actually have Captain Vess's ship at a number 5. Bridget, what do you have?
Number 5.
Okay, and that is Gaya's
ship.
Yacht. Yeah. And we could not determine if there's an in-canon name for Gaya's ship, and we did try. We investigated deeply for this. So we chose a name, and we're hoping it's appropriate. The name we came up with, courtesy of the cosplayer who cosplays as Captain Vess, named Gabby Fleury, proposed the name Ryloth's Reprise, which I thought was a suitably appropriate musical reference, but also kind of a subtle reference to the change that Gaia is working to bring about. So this is Ryloth's Reprise, and then we've got 2 kind of run-of-the-mill Kyrax fighters. What pilot skill do they have?
3.
They're both 3. And then over here, Keifer, you've got...
Yes, there are 3 as well for the TIE fighters.
2 TIE fighters are at 3. And so we're essentially saying, we're a little loosey-goosey with how we're approaching this. We're going to treat it like you guys are a team and we're a team. So with the TIE fighters and the Black Sun being 3, you're actually going to go first in the player order, followed by us. But we're all going to set our first movement on our movement dials simultaneously. So you're going to just rotate it until the movement you want to pick is in between these little calipers at the top here. And we do that in secret.
Do I do this for only one of my ships or both of them?
You'll go ahead and set for both of them.
Okay.
Vess's ship for this first round is out of play because there's no reason to think anything needs to happen. Like maybe just doing some, repairs or whatnot. Because Vess herself is actually still on the ship at this point. So I'm actually going to treat this ship as out of play.
Okay.
But you've got a movement set for
I do. I should
the
probably
yacht.
show you.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That looks right.
Okay.
Okay. That's called the planning phase in this game, is where you're setting your movement, you're thinking about what you're going to do. Now we're going to move on to the activation phase, where more or less in that same order, each ship is going to reveal its dial, execute its movement, and then take one of the actions that are listed down the right-hand side of their ship card. Okay, so we've chosen our maneuvers, and now, because you guys are playing on a team, and all of the pilot skill 3 ships are all on the same team, you get to decide together what order you want to activate them in.
Let's do the ties.
Yeah. Let the order go first.
Okay, for the order.
For the order.
That makes sense. So they're kind of patrolling around over there. What sort of maneuver is that?
Forwards, 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Speed 4, straight ahead?
Yeah.
It's a quick tie.
Yeah, these guys are bombing along.
Do you want me to help at all?
Yeah,
with
you
this?
could assist.
There you go. Oop.
Yeah, these movements tend to be a little finicky. So I recommend holding the ship to the mat with one hand, placing the template with the other hand, then holding that to the mat while you move the ship.
So you're not sliding around.
Yeah.
I do it every time.
Okay.
Okay, so that's that TIE Fighter's movement. Now it has the opportunity to take an action, and those are listed down the right side of your card.
It has...
That's a focus action.
And then...
Got an evade action.
Okay, and then a target and then a barrel roll.
Target lock and a barrel roll. Barrel rolls are good when you're within range of your opponent, you're worried they're going to hit you, and you're trying to jog left or right. This one's not really in that situation, so I'd probably recommend one of the others. It's also not really got anything to lock onto. Early in a game of X-Wing miniatures, a lot of times there are no real good actions to take, but you can't really go wrong with a focus because that's a pretty versatile action. So maybe that would be my suggestion.
All right.
And if you want to take that one, you just take that green token and put it next to the ship, and that's just a reminder for us so we don't lose track of
focused.
which actions that we take. Okay, and then you can move on to your next ship.
All right. Surprise, surprise. Same move.
Same move. Okay.
Just trying to get those.
We're trying to get
TIE
into
fighters
the action.
into
You
the
can ask
fray.
Bridget for help if you need it.
So I will hold on to this.
And I'll move the ship.
Good teamwork, guys.
Are we popped in there?
Good.
Yeah.
Cross-faction cooperation. Very nice. Okay. So those TIEs are flying along, and then that TIE fighter gets
I guess
an
we'll do
action.
the same thing.
Same action.
Because there's nothing else to do right now.
Okay. And if those tokens end up not getting used, which they very well might not in this round, they come back to you, and it kind of resets at the end of the round. So that's the two TIEs. So now you would activate both of your Kyrax fighters.
Okay, let's start with this one. I'm gonna head a little bit starboard, spread out to protect Gaia a little bit more.
Okay, as good mercenary security forces do. So that's a speed 2 right hand soft right. Okay, that is that template.
Okay. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There we go.
Okay. And then you get to pick one of the actions down the right hand side of that ship card.
Let's do a focus.
Okay.
Yeah, let's focus this one.
All right.
Okay. Now this one, gonna move straight forward.
Speed 3 is 3.
Pretty quickly.
There you go.
Okay, now for this action, I'm going to target lock.
Oh, that's weird. Nobody's really in range. What are you target locking, Jennifer?
I have an ion cannon turret on the back of my ship, and I am locking on to Gaia's yacht.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
For the order.
Oh, no. Okay, that's terrible. For starters, Jennifer, I can't believe you'd even consider doing that.
I'm a mercenary. What can I say? Somebody paid me.
She trusted you. So if you want to do a target lock, the way we do that is we use these little tokens where we're going to pick the one that matches your ship. So that's ship number 5. So I'm going to hand you target lock token number 5, and you can put that next to Gaia's ship so that we know that that's been locked onto by ship number 5. I don't want to do it. I don't want to touch that. I'm not going anywhere near that business. This is awful. I can't believe her own security forces would turn on her. Like, who could have seen that coming?
How dare you?
I mean,
I got paid.
When you hire a Black Sun, like, you expect a certain level of loyalty and quality. Really shocking. Okay, so all 4 of your ships have gone now?
Yes.
All right, so Bridget, now you and I are going to sort of cooperatively manage the other 2 ships.
Okay.
So Bridget, let's think about what Gaia's ship is doing. You chose a move for her earlier.
I did.
So why don't you go ahead and reveal that maneuver?
Okay. Straight ahead at 1.
Straight ahead speed 1, because Gaia thought probably we're just gently pulling away from the Halcyon. No need to do anything elaborate. Can you see where the little notches are?
Sorry.
Man. Okay.
Want me to move it?
Yes.
maneuver it around the other ones.
It's a crowded play space there. Okay, thank you. And then Gaia's ship gets to take an action, and Gaia's actions are calculate and target lock and jam. So calculate is a nice versatile option. It's kind of a mix of focus and evade. That's probably what she needs to do,
Okay.
I think.
That's the green
Yeah.
token. Okay.
Yep. And then Vessa's ship is uncrewed at this point. It's literally just in the parking lot, nobody at the helm, so we're not going to actually activate Vessa's ship.
Okay.
We didn't think this was going to happen. Like, boy, we're so ill prepared. So now we've effectively gone through and activated all of the ships. Now we're going to go into what's called the engagement phase, where instead of working our way up through the pilot skills from lowest to highest, we turn around and go the other direction, and we're going to engage from highest to lowest. And that represents giving the ships with the highest, most skilled pilots a little bit of an advantage.
Okay.
Because now they can see where all the ships wound up before they do this next part. So because Vess is out of play for right now, we're only going to be engaging with Gaia's ship. So Gaia was fired on by which ship? That one? Okay, we'll assume they're both in league with each other, but that maybe is a ship that we would try to get in a shot. Should we try that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the way that you figure out an attack in this game involves a few considerations. One of them is the ship that you're attacking within range of the ship that's doing the attacking? Is it inside the firing arc that that ship's weapons can reach, which is designated by that little yellow V-shaped wedge on the front? And we're going to use this range ruler to check the range. So I'm going to look at the two, yeah, you hold that end, the two parts of the ship's bases that are the closest together. So probably somewhere in here is what we would measure. And that's going to look like it's inside, oops, I'm sorry. It's going to look like it's inside of range 1, which is going to give Gaia an attack bonus because they're so close. And if I use the ruler to kind of visualize that wedge extending out from the base of the ship, then I can see that this fighter's inside Gaia's firing arc, which is good news. So Gaia's attack value is going to be the red number at the bottom of her ship card.
That's a 3.
That's a 3. This is another canon element we could not get our hands on. We couldn't determine if there's an in-canon name for the pilot of this yacht. So we chose one using the Twi'lek language. The name of this pilot is Siku Firith. That's who's actually flying the ship. That's a Twi'lek word that means memory defender, which seemed appropriate. So Siku Firith and probably a gunner on that ship are now attacking for 3. That means we get to roll, normally we'd roll 3 of those red attack dice. Because of the close range, Gaia gets a 1 die bonus. So we're gonna actually roll all 4 of those and try to get a hit on that fighter. So those 2 blanks are a miss, and then the other 2 hits are what this fighter is gonna need to defend against. So Jennifer, have a look at the defense value, which is the green number.
2.
It's a 2, so you're gonna roll 2 of these green dice.
Not looking good at all.
Oh
no.
So you would take
No defense.
So you would take 2 hits, well deserved, I'd say. And the damage is gonna first go to your shields. So those Kyrax fighters each have 1 shield. So this one is number 5. So on that left-hand ship, you would flip its shield over to the red side. So its shield has now been used up. And you're gonna then take the other hit directly to the hull of the ship. And there's a yellow value on the bottom of that card, which is the hull itself.
5.
And that's a 5. So those are pretty beefy. So I'm going to hand you one of these damage cards, and you're going to keep it face down and just put that next to your ship. That's face up.
Oh.
Because all we care about in this case is
it
that it has 1 damage.
Okay.
If you would have taken a critical hit, which is the little open star, then you would take that damage card face up and have to do whatever it says on that card. And there's a bunch of different effects that can kick in.
Okay.
So that's how damage happens. So Gaia got a shot in. Not bad. So now that Gaia has taken her turn and we're not activating Vess, now it's to you to engage. And kind of like before, you get to decide the order of the ties and the Kyrax fighters. The ties are so far away. Like if we have a look at the range ruler, they're out of range of everything. So they're not really going to be able to engage, which means they won't be able to use those focus tokens. So they're going to kind of just be spectators for the rest of this round. So out of the 2 Kyrax fighters, which do you think you would want to use to engage first? Take care of business?
Yeah, I'll take care of business.
Okay, so if that Kyrax fighter is going to attack, it's actually got 2 weapons on board. It's got its default weapon, which is the red number you see at the bottom of the ship card. And then it has an ion cannon modification added.
Yep.
Which is represented by that card, and that's got its own separate attack value in red. What's that number?
3.
3. Ooh. But then there's some special text that I think tells us what to do with that damage.
It says if this attack hits, spend 1 hit or 1 critical hit result to cause the defender to suffer 1 hit damage. All remaining hits or critical hit results inflict ion tokens instead of damage.
Got it. So an ion cannon is going to give you more dice to roll, but maximum it's only going to do 1 actual damage. The rest of the damage all goes to ion sort of disabling of the ship.
Right.
So that's interesting. That implies that these Kyrax fighters are not looking to destroy Gaya's ship.
I'm not being paid to destroy Gaia.
At least not right away.
I just need to take the ship out.
They, I'll speculate that what they're trying to do is get their hands on that stone.
Maybe.
Who can say for sure? Who can know the heart
Maybe.
of a Black Sun mercenary? But so you're going to take 3 of those red dice and you're going to roll those and you're trying to get as many hits as you can.
Ooh, nice.
2 critical hits.
2 criticals and a focus. So that's an example of the result that if you had taken the focus action, right now you'd be turning that focus result into
an extra hit.
Into an extra hit. Yep. So with 2 criticals based on the text on that ion turret card, Gaia's ship is going to take 1 damage and then 1 ion token. Bridget, would you hand me one of those red tokens in the middle that has the kind of 3, the other one?
This one?
The one that kind of looks like a flux capacitor?
Okay.
Yeah.
Good description.
So that goes, that's actually going to go, let's put that on Gaia's ship card.
Okay.
Some tokens go next to the ship, so you don't forget. Some of them go on the card. This one I can't remember, so we'll just put it over there for now.
Okay.
And then she's got to take 1 damage. She's got 3 shields, so let's go ahead and flip 1 of her 3 shields over to the red side.
Okay.
And that is that ion attack. Now, the other thing to know about that ion turret is instead of using the forward firing arc, like you would use for the primary weapon, it's going to use this little rotating token that's installed on the base that right now is pointing out to the back. As though they planned this ahead of time and already had their turret pointed in the direction it needed to be.
Yeah.
But it does add an interesting element of gameplay where, as an additional action, that turret card gives you another action that was not on the ship card that looks like a little rotating arrow.
Yep.
That means you could take that action to repoint that token to one of the other firing arcs and shoot in whichever direction you need to.
Okay.
But you got to use up an action to do that, so requires some extra planning. Okay, so great job, Black Sun. What else do you have up your sleeve now?
What do I do with the focus at this point? Is there anything that...
So if that ship wants to also attack Gaia, it would have to do it with its ion cannon, which it also has. And it could use that focus to re-roll its attack dice and do a better job of making the
Okay,
hit.
let's go for it.
Okay. So same thing. You're going to roll 3 dice to attack with. Oh, you know what? I think there's a range 1 bonus for both of those. So actually, on that first attack, we probably should have had you roll 1
roll
more.
4. You want to back up?
So let's just roll 1 more and we'll apply it if it needs it.
Okay.
Or actually,
just 1.
You know what? It wouldn't really change the result. It would, well, okay. Just go ahead and roll 1 red die that we were missing because of the bonus. So that's an extra hit. Really all that does is it adds 1 more ion token to Gaia's ship.
This one.
But they're all going to go away at the end of this round, or at the end of the next round, so it's okay. But now this other fighter has a chance to do a regular damage in addition to the ionization, and is also in the range 1 bonus. So get to roll all of them.
Wow.
Oh,
This is scary.
Let's do this.
watch out.
Okay.
One critical.
So that's
A critical and a hit.
so one of those hits goes to Gaya's shields.
So one more of these.
So
Flip the shield
you will
over.
take
Oh,
one
the
more
shield.
ion token
Okay.
and flip one of the shields.
Okay.
Yep. So Gaia's been ionized by her own security. In response to that, from a storytelling perspective, we're going to say Vess has been monitoring the situation carefully, exits the Halcyon via the Halcyon's escape pods. And we're representing that with this little miniature on the table. Vess is going to essentially transfer across the table to this asteroid base, which is conveniently located nearby. They knew the point where they would be on the map when Gaia leaves the ship. So they were able to probably anticipate some of these events. Gaia, being who she is always going to be one step ahead. That is effectively the end of the round. So there is a little bit of cleanup that happens where your focus tokens are going to come back to you.
This one.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's your calculate token. And then the ion tokens are going to have to stay on until Gaia performs what they call an ion maneuver, which is a speed 1 blue maneuver.
So can I ask you, why would you want to use the target lock instead of focus? Because I feel like they kind of do the same thing.
They're similar. The focus token lets you change focus results to a hit.
Right.
Or change focus results on the green dice to an evade. Target lock lets you re-roll all of the attack dice,
Oh, okay.
which is potentially more devastating.
Got it.
Especially as you're using weapons that roll more and more of the red dice. The odds of that being all hits that come up on that re-roll is scary.
Okay, so you get to re-roll all of the dice if
Yeah.
you don't get the result that you wanted.
Yep.
Okay.
So Gaia is a little more damaged at this point than I thought she would be. This is why we were wanting to do a little bit of testing beforehand.
One shield, yeah.
But this is also why I have the Wraith Cole card in case we need it. So we'll treat that as the end of the first round. And now Vess has arrived at the base, has transferred to the Revenant, which is the name of, it looks like that when you dock.
Just like that.
Yep. So Vess is now on board the Revenant.
Here's the dock over here, so she's docking.
Oh yeah, there you go.
There
Perfect.
you go.
Yeah, the Revenant is a deep cut. This is a very obscure Star Wars freighter that goes all the way back to the 90s Star Wars RPG, lovingly crafted for us by a specialist who did an absolutely beautiful job recreating this ship, trying to do honor to Vess's character. The ship is covered in guns. It's actually got 2 turret cards installed, which I've got here, and those can each be rotated independently of each other. This is in addition to the ship's primary weapon, which rolls 3 dice of its own. So looking forward to seeing how this next round goes. Okay, so you
in the fray.
You can move the escape pods off of the board. And, let's bring our dials back home.
We can get closer to Vess.
We need to get closer to Vess, big time. We're trying to hit this, because remember, collecting those singing stones is going to give Gaia a defensive advantage that I figured she was probably going to need.
Okay.
So as we start the second round, we've done our cleanup. We're now going to set our maneuver dials simultaneously for our next move. And I need to bring Vess out of the asteroid field. We are ready to start the second round.
Here we go.
And we've already set our maneuver dials for the second round. And we're going to do the same order as last time. So are we going to start with the TIE Fighters for you guys? Do those first?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Which one do you want to do first? That is a
4.
Speed 4 straight.
Got to get over to Gaia and Vess over here.
I don't know why these are so hard to pick up.
All right.
And we're going to do the same thing we did before, since there's not much else to do.
Out of focus. Okay. Interesting.
And then same thing with this one. Got it? Well, I'm going to let you do it. Okay. I don't want to knock over an asteroid.
Those guys are in tight formation. So I should probably mention that if the bases, for the purpose of looking at things like collisions or hitting an asteroid or that kind of thing, we kind of ignore the miniature itself and we just look at the base. So if the bases of those two ships wind up touching, then there will be a collision and we'll resolve that.
Okay.
Same with if they were to hit these ships or really anything else that's
You've
on the
only
board.
gone straight and they didn't start off that close together, so I don't know how that happened.
Somebody weaving a little bit in their lane. Okay, so both TIE fighters moved and took an action. And now the Kyrax fighters will go.
Right,
What the hell are they going to do?
Well, you know what? They're just going to circle around at the moment. So I'm going to do a soft right, number 2.
Soft right, number 2 coming out.
Hold the ship for me, please. I just don't want that one to fall off the edge of the game board. So we're gonna turn.
In tournament play, if any part of the base of your ship leaves the play field, which is normally is a 3 foot by 3 foot area, so that's the mat that we're using. That's basically a forfeit. They call that fleeing in the tournament rules. Are you doing the same thing with the other one?
No, for the other one, I'm gonna go a hard right, number 2.
Okay. And what was the action?
Trying
for
to
that
spin
other
that one. Oh, I'm gonna do focus.
Okay. Hard right. Number 2.
Yes. Speed 2. Hold my ship. Okay, there we go.
Nice.
And then I'll focus for that one as well.
Okay. All right, so all 4 of yours have gone. Now we get to decide, do we want to move Gaya's ship or Vess's ship first? Should we try to get Vess's ship out
Yeah, let's do Vess next.
a good location, and then we'll know where we want to try to put Gaya?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so Vess has a maneuver set. I might need you to pass me that orange dial, though. I think we picked the speed 4 straight ahead. So hopefully cruising right between those asteroids without contacting.
Close one.
Is the goal. Sees the urgency of the situation, starts bombing out the door to the rescue.
Wow. You got it?
It's a good team effort there.
Boy.
Fun.
So the collision course with the
yikes.
TIE fighters.
Yeah, didn't know Keifer was going to be there.
Oh.
Bold.
Very close to the TIE fighters. Okay.
She means business.
That's part of the fun of this game is you don't know where everyone's going to wind up being. So there is a certain amount of having to react and adjust your strategy. So the action I think we will take for Vess is probably, let's see. Bridget, would you check the range?
I'm pretty sure you're to that one.
Oh, to that one.
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure you're within one.
Is that range 2?
It's 2.
Where do I do it from the corner?
Closest, the two closest points to each other.
Yeah, it's within 2.
Inside 2. Okay, so there's no range bonus for either of them. So we either want to focus. God, I'm starting to wonder if we need to do a barrel roll to avoid hitting that TIE fighter. Although Keifer's probably going to cruise out of there before we make our next move.
Or is he?
Couldn't he choose to attack?
I think we're outside his firing arc.
Oh. Oh. Well.
Not the back one.
This one.
I don't think.
Do you have to be totally inside?
Oh, yeah, we're in range of that back one. I'm not too worried.
It's giving me ideas.
Don't talk about it. So Vess is pretty shielded up. I'm not super worried about the TIE fighter at this point. What I want to do is shoot these down as quickly as I possibly can. That is absolutely the goal.
They're the immediate threat.
Yeah, and they have a lot of hull value. It's 5, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's do target lock. Let's see, is that fighter? I might need you to check if this fighter's outside that front firing arc for Vess. If you kind of line it up with the line that's on the token a little bit, so you know you're just extending that line. That looks like it's inside.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hitting the base. Yeah.
So I think...
Don't you also have the extra turrets that you can use?
We know he's inside that arc.
Okay.
I just wanted to know if we could also let him have it with the front cannon.
Got it. Okay.
Because we got to max out the damage, because they did more damage to Gaya in that first round than maybe is ideal. I think we want the target lock.
Okay.
So, Bridget, would you put this number 2 token by the Kyrax fighter so we know he's been locked onto by Vess?
Okay.
Okay, so that's Vess moving and taking an action. Now we do Gaya's activation.
Okay. There's only one movement we can do. It's the one forward, right?
Okay, yeah, so Gaia's ship is ionized.
Yeah.
Thanks to you-know-who. So the only movement Gaia can do is a speed 1 blue maneuver, which is straight, left, or right. So we're going straight.
Okay.
And the only action Gaia could take is a focus action, which Gaia does not actually have on her ship. But the act of taking that blue maneuver means you get to remove all of those ion tokens.
Okay.
Which means Gaia will basically be back to normal for the next round.
But still 2 shield down.
2 shields down. Yeah, they don't replenish.
Ever?
Nope.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so we just have 1 shield left.
Yeah. Now there are abilities you can install on a ship that will recharge its shields.
Mm-hmm.
There's an endless universe of ship upgrades and modifications you can explore, and they introduce a lot of really cool gameplay. We're trying to keep it simple for teaching purposes today, but yeah, there's all kinds of cool ways you can build your squad. So
What do we do with this target, the 5? Does that follow?
Yeah, so this is the moving and the taking the actions, which
Okay.
we are just now finishing with.
Okay.
Now we're going to turn around and do our attacking and defending. And I'd say Gaia's first target looks pretty obvious. Should we start there?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is clearly inside the firing arc. Let's check that really is, it looks like range 1. Is that right?
Boy, that's close.
Yeah, if we go off in that
Yeah.
corner.
Okay.
So that means Gaia gets an attack bonus for being at range 1. So Gaia's primary weapon is 3?
3.
Plus 1 for the close range. You're going to roll the 4 attack dice.
Okay.
Okay, so you rolled 2 hits, and Gaia wasn't able to really take an action because of the ionization. So 2 hits is better than nothing. Does that Kyrax fighter still have a shield? Or is that one that got hit before?
That's the one that got hit before.
Awesome. So that next damage is going to go straight to the hull in addition to the one that's already there. So that's now, is that 2 out of 5?
Yes.
On that ship? Okay. All right, making progress. So Vess's ship has some options. We need to decide, Bridget, we essentially have 3 weapons that we can roll dice for.
Okay.
They could all attack one of those TIE fighters. I think all 3 of them can hit this fighter. The 2 turrets could hit this fighter, which has the most damage.
That far away?
Oh,
Pretty far.
let's check. Yeah, that's range 3.
Yeah.
So he would get an extra defense die. So maybe not our best bet.
Well, we definitely want to hit this one.
Yep. This is probably as good a time as any to play this condition card. We have a handful of these custom condition cards that we created for this Halcyon scenario. One of them is called Conflict of Interest. And this is based on a narrative element. When you're on the Halcyon, the First Order lieutenant, who is kind of overseeing the blockade,
We love Croy.
is very popular character. Came very close, if I recall, to flipping Bridget's loyalty.
Almost.
He has
While
flipped
we
a
were
lot
on
of
the ship.
loyalties on that ship.
He's very persuasive. And we believe we detected a bit of a crush on Gaia, perhaps.
He definitely has a thing for Gaia.
As some subtext. And sometimes it's more subtle than others, but it seems like it's definitely in there. So this card essentially represents Lieutenant Croy issuing some low-key orders to one of those TIE fighters, instructing them to focus their attack on the Kyrax fighters first.
What?
Before doing anything else, under the pretext of protecting the Ionization stone, which is on board Gaia's yacht, as that is now stolen First Order property, but perhaps that's not the real reason. So this card actually says, reassign 1 TIE from your opponent's squad to your squad, and then discard this card. So it's a single-use card.
Wow.
And the reason why the numbers at the base are black on one and white on the other is so we can tell them apart. So that white one, we're going to repurpose onto our team. Super unfair. Super tournament illegal.
I cannot believe this.
But turnabout is fair play. So if one of those ships is going to flip, then fair is fair.
Oh, Croy. Why would you do this to me?
So let's say if this was ship number 3, this is ship number 4. I'll take these from you and I'll just move them over here. Is that all right?
No, it is
No.
not. It's not okay.
You're not comfortable with that? So sorry. I feel like our best bet at this point is probably to hit that ship, and I think we can hit it with all 3 weapons.
You want to do all 3? Okay.
Yeah, I'm dying to.
Okay.
So, because both turrets are pointed at that right-hand firing arc.
Yeah.
And the forward primary weapon arc, we determined earlier, has this fighter. It's just barely, but I think that corner is inside.
Like nick the front of the ship.
Oh, it's close. It's a little iffy. Actually, let me double check that. Oh, it's not. It's outside. So that means we really need to attack that other TIE fighter with the forward-facing arc, because that's definitely inside. And then attack this fighter with both of the turrets.
Okay.
Since they're both pointing in the right direction.
Okay.
So Bridget, you're gonna roll 3 red dice.
Okay.
To attack TIE fighter number 4. So let's resolve that first.
Ooh. Boy, that was a good roll.
And then you're gonna roll 1 more because there's a range 1 bonus.
Okay.
So close. Okay.
Nothing.
And Gaia didn't take an action, so we can't re-roll any of those. So now you're gonna defend with how many defense dice for the first order tie?
Is that, which color is that?
The green.
That's 3.
3. Okay. So you re-roll those 3, or roll those 3 green dice. You got 2 evades. So you got to evade the normal hits first. So you end up taking 1 critical, but that goes to your shield. So you flip your shield before you take any hull damage.
All right.
Okay.
Not bad.
So far, so good. Then you're gonna roll 2 dice for each of the turrets.
Okay.
And that's probably range 2, right? Yeah, that looks range 2. Okay. So let's do those one at a time.
One at a time? Okay.
I think so. No, I mean, let's roll 2 at a time, and then we'll do the other 2.
Well.
Yeah. Okay, so that's 1 hit from that turret.
Okay.
Oh, I guess we probably have to do it together since he's only going to roll evade dice once. So let's just do it as a pool. So go ahead and roll the other 2, and we'll see what the other turret does.
Okay.
Nothing.
Boy, I really thought his ship was more powerful than this. Nothing.
But Bess has target lock.
Okay.
So why don't you re-roll all 3 of those blanks? Hey.
Wow.
Okay, so we got 3 hits total. And the fighter is going to roll how many defense dice?
2, is that right?
You're going to roll 2.
Defense.
It's the green number on the bottom of your fighter card.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 2.
Okay. Perfect. So you got 1 focus, which means you can turn... Yeah, you took the focus action, so go ahead and spend that token to turn that focus die result into an evade result.
Okay.
Yep. And then you take that one off. That's actually the moment when those tokens come back is when you use them, so same with the target lock. Okay, so great job, everybody. That is Vess's attack on the TIE fighter and the Kyrax fighter. So now you can bring your tokens home.
Wait, did the TIE fighters go?
No,
they
did
didn't.
not.
So what's your action for your ties? Or your 1 tie?
Yeah.
Well, he's going to have to return fire because he got fired on, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That sounds right. Why don't you go ahead and attack, and then we'll activate the other TIE fighter.
You're in range 1, so you get an extra.
Ooh, yeah.
Wait a minute.
Good call. I mean, terrible call.
Yeah!
Wow, 2 critical.
yeah.
Okay.
2 critical and a
1 hit.
regular.
So Vess rolls 2 defense dice. Why don't you go ahead and do those?
Okay.
Oh.
That's bad. Nothing.
So we got to take 2. We got to take a hit and a critical. So those are both going to go to the shields. That was a good hit. I'm thinking about this ship over here.
Oh, no. Don't be coming after me.
Trying to anticipate where that ship's going to be and try to get a decent shot. Let's see. Let's try that.
Okay.
Do soft. Okay. Uh-oh. This is why we do set our maneuvers without talking to each other. But this is also a learning game where we're trying to learn, like, how should you be thinking about this stuff? Okay. Is everybody set their maneuver?
Yep.
Yes.
Has everybody reset their maneuver? Based on new information.
Wait. more time. Hold on.
We didn't like the tone of that. Maybe a little slight adjustment.
There we go.
He's heading out. He's like,
Yep.
we're done here.
Yep. Yeah, I'm a mercenary. I don't get paid enough to sit around and be shot at. So.
But also, I mean, this is the goal for Gaya's ship, right?
It is. Gaia needs to hit this hyperspace jump pad. This is going to represent Gaia, who was ionized in the first round and is now basically waiting for her navicomputer to spiral back up, make the calculations for the jump to light speed.
Yes.
I've always wanted to say that. And make it to the jump pad, having collected a few of these singing stone fragments, which are not meant to be literal fragments floating in space. They're meant to represent the stone guiding her pilot on the safest path through this dangerous situation while she's killing time waiting for her computer to be ready. And so if she can hit this, having collected some stones, then she'll be ready to jump to light speed, and that'll be her victory condition.
Great.
It's a team effort.
Yeah.
Wow, look at that. It's like a beautiful dance. I'm amazed there's no collision there. That's incredible.
Yeah.
You've been really close right here.
Yeah,
you would have been.
It's true.
You would have been.
Okay,
Right.
and then
I'm looking smart now.
You're right.
and then Vessa's action. I don't think we're hitting anything out the front. We could target that ship.
Wait a minute, you got this one right here.
Boy.
You're gonna turn Vess?
Yeah, worst friend ever.
Yeah.
Vess, I guess better use those two turrets. Because otherwise she's gonna have to use an action to reposition the turrets, which we may eventually need to do.
It was Vess the scoundrel all along.
Let's say, yeah, so we're a little limited in that we can't fire out the front. So let's use target lock on ship number 5. Just anywhere near that 3 is fine.
Oh man, my ship's going down.
I feel like that one's days are numbered.
Yeah, good. Okay, so so now everyone's moved and picked their actions. Now we're getting to the engagement phase. So we'll just go back the other direction. Start with Bess. The Kyrax fighter is going to get a range bonus.
Thank goodness.
So Bess is going to roll 4 red dice for those turrets. So Bridget, would you roll those? Oh, okay.
That was a good roll.
And then Kyrax fighter rolls how many green dice?
2, but I get 1 extra.
2 for the range bonus. Okay.
And I have focus.
You got to focus, so you can change that to an evade if you want to.
Okay.
Don't have to. It's totally optional, Jennifer.
I'll use that 1 evade.
No one's going to make you, but so that's going to let you evade one of the normal hits.
Just 1.
And then you're going to take 2 hits and a critical.
Oof.
So you already used your shield. And has that ship taken any hits?
Yeah, that one's taken 2.
That's that one? Okay. So 2 hits and a critical, is that destroyed? That's got 5 hull, right?
Yep. So the 1 is the shield. 2, 3. Is that how it is?
No.
It's 3 right
the
now?
shield is its own separate thing. The
Okay.
cards are how much hull damage you've
Okay,
taken.
so I have 5.
You're at 2 out of 5. We're evading 1. Did you already take 1 away?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's 3 left.
3 left.
Okay, so that ship's destroyed.
Dang.
That's terrible news.
Oh, no.
I'm so sorry.
Ah.
But this is good for the heroes. And so we're excited about that part.
Okay, there's your target locks back.
Okay, thank you.
So I take it off the board now?
So that's off the board and out of play. That might be the end of the round then, if no one can do anything.
I still have an option, right?
Oh, yeah. You can fire that ion cannon out the back.
That was my plan.
Oh, dang it. No. You're shooting Vess with the ion cannon. So go ahead and roll 3 red dice. And Vess is going to roll 2 evade dice. You got 2 focus.
And I have that.
So you can...
Do I change 1 focus or both of them?
You can change both of them.
Does it go to a single hit or a critical hit?
It goes to a single hit.
Okay.
Oh, that's a nice feature.
So focus.
So we roll 2.
So we're going to roll 2 evade defense dice and see if we can get 2 evades.
Okay. 1 evade.
1 evade.
And we're outside range 1, right?
We're in range 1
Range
for
1.
at the bases.
Oh, That is range 1, so that affects the
Oh, I
attack dice,
should've-
not the defense dice. So
I
that's
should have
fine.
rolled 4, shouldn't I?
Well, how many did you have?
Yes.
I should have. So
Yeah, roll 1 more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good call. Okay, so you have 3 hits.
We evade 1.
We evade 1, so you do 1 damage, and we take an ion token. So the 1 damage goes to Vess's shields. Okay, so Vess is ionized. That's that ship's turn. I'm thinking about the win condition for Gaya. That's probably our goal then in the next round, is just come about and try to hustle over there. And we'll probably be able to pass through those 2 stones as we do anyway. Okay, so that's probably whatever your slowest hard right is. Let's do that one.
Okay.
Okay, we're starting a new round.
All right.
It's a whole new clean slate. Anything can happen at this point.
Okay.
Gaia's literally just trying to get out of here in one piece. This is way more tense than what I thought it was going to be. I thought this scenario was going to be super one-sided, and it's actually turning out to be a pretty interesting match.
Does it matter if we hit these things, or these
No.
things? These are metaphysical.
They're
right?
metaphysical.
Yeah.
They don't exist. We can just temporarily move that and then
It'll
replace
just be.
it.
There we go.
Yeah, for those unfamiliar, there's this concept of the high-end Aeneas stone, which is the subject of the heist, speaking to the holder, if they're sensitive to such things, and providing some influence. May or may not be force-related. I don't think we know the nature of the singing stone, but we wanted some aspect of influence of the stone in the gameplay. So collecting those stone fragments is something that's specific to Gaia's ship by way of this card effect. It's a condition card called Stone Whispers, which reads, during the engagement phase, you may reroll a number of defense dice equal to the number of singing stone fragments on your Walking the Path card. And then the Walking the Path card allows you to pick up those stone fragments when any part of the base of the ship overlaps those fragments. So that's how we're kind of trying to imply that the stone is guiding the pilot of the ship to fly in a certain path.
I like that.
Now we're gonna do Gaia's ship.
Okay.
Hard right 2. I got this. You move the ship. Nope. Pick it up by the base.
Perfectly circumnavigating the singing stone fragment. Although
that you were trying to acquire.
Yeah.
Although if the base, if you were sliding can you put that template back right behind it? If we imagine the ship sliding along that template, would the base not have intersected that?
Help me move the ship
right,
along
we're
the
gonna be
middle of the
careful.
template.
We're gonna be careful
It just misses
You
it.
gotta be kidding me.
It's like, it's
here.
so,
we got it.
wait.
No, wait, maybe.
There was a little.
It brushes it.
I feel like that was a brush with, a slight whisper from the stone.
Man, like, okay, maybe right there.
Yeah, I think it touched it.
I mean,
That feels like enough of a touch. Also,
that's wild. Y'all couldn't have planned it that way.
there's been enough jostling of table components while we've been here. I feel okay about counting that one.
There you go.
One with the force.
All
the
right,
force
you
is
got the
with me.
stone.
Okay,
so
so
does
we
the
got-
stone go on the card? Is that?
It goes on the card.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you. This is the Walking the Path card. When your ship's base overlaps a singing stone fragment, place it on this card. And we're trying to collect at least 2 of the singing stone fragments before she hits the hyperspace jump pad, and that just represents time going by while her computer spins back up. Then she can jump to hyperspace, and that's how she gets to safety, and that's her win condition. And then
Gaia next.
let's do Gaia next.
I did 4 straight ahead.
That is that one.
That's gonna be interesting.
Hey, but we're getting a stone. Singing stone fragment.
Yay!
That's 2. That's 2 in the bank.
Woohoo!
So, yeah, they are definitely touching.
Okay.
They did collide though, so whatever though.
That's just the range 0.
Which means that my plan just went away.
Oh no. That's too bad. So our target lock is worthless, but
Yeah.
we're also too close to be targeted.
Who was locked on? Were you locked onto Gaia's ship before?
I'm locked
Yeah.
onto Guy's ship
Yeah,
now.
he lined that up so perfect.
But are you in range?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I did not expect to be nervous about this game.
That's right. I gotta remember these things. 1 hit. 2 hits.
Ugh.
Good job.
Okay, and we're re-rolling. Oops, sorry. We're rolling. Gaia has how many defense?
I don't remember that.
2.
2.
All right, 2. Let's see.
Gosh. Okay. That doesn't look good.
I blinked out for a second. Did you roll an extra because you're range 1?
I just rolled 2.
Oh, you're back there.
Yeah.
I did 2.
Okay.
Did 2.
So we roll a third one because we're so far away.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
Oh,
jeez.
Oh,
no.
That's what I like to see. That's what I like to see.
Dang it. So we got 2 hits. Is that what we got?
Mm-hmm.
These 2?
Yep.
Okay.
These 2.
Those 2.
Those 2. Okay. So we're going to take one to the final shield.
Shields are down.
Shields are down. So these 2 hits to Gaya's ship. One of those goes to the shields. Shields are completely down. And now we're taking damage to the hull. How much hull does Gaia have? The yellow.
5.
5. Okay. Not bad. So this is one of those 5.
Okay.
So she's got 4 left. Oof. That's close. Gaia's got the minimum stones to escape. Bridget, we got to remember, because we have those 2 stones, we can spend them to re-roll defense dice.
Okay.
So that's potentially a saving grace for Gaia now that she's down to minimal defenses. Yep.
Oh, shit.
Hold on.
Range 0 to 3, right? Or 1 to 3?
Yeah.
So if Vess is in range of Gaia, Gaia can target lock on another ship? Is that what you're saying?
Vess gets a free target lock if she stays close to Gaia.
Oh, okay.
It's to encourage her to cover and not wander off.
Okay.
But it's also kind of represents a certain amount of shorthand between the 2 of them.
Got it.
So you're rolling
3.
3
Because we were in close range, right?
with your
In
close
range
range
1.
bonus.
Yeah.
Okay. This is TIE Fighter number 4 firing on the Revenant.
3 critical hits. 3 critical
No.
hits. Come on. 3 critical hits.
1 critical
One
hit
critical.
and 1 focus. Okay. And we're going to roll 2 defense dice.
No evade. No evade.
Nope. But you have the evade token on that. Oh no,
That's
we're
on-
using
that's on the
Vess.
other one.
We're shooting Vess. That's right. So Vess
Use
got a
our free
hit.
target lock again. Okay. So no result.
No.
Okay.
Wait, why is it no result?
Oh, you got a critical. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Nice try.
Brain's getting a little full. So we're taking that to the shields. So shields are gone. The Revenant shields are completely down now. This is a close match. So Kyrax Fighter number 6 is attacking
Gaia.
Okay. And that's
And
range 3.
It's range 3. I have a target lock on her.
Okay.
So that's 3 dice. No hits.
So you're gonna re-roll all those.
But I have a target lock, so I'm re-rolling.
Yeah.
And that's ship number 6. So there's your token.
2 hits.
2 hits.
Okay.
And we're gonna roll
2.
2 plus 1 for the distance. Oh.
1 evade.
1 evade. So we take 1 hit. Was that 2 hits you got?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you got a calculate action. So let's spend the calculate token to turn one of those focus results to an evade. So now we can evade both of the hits.
No.
And then that's the end of Kyrax's turn. Now it's Gaia's turn. Gaia can't attack, can't jam. Vess. Did Vess already go?
Yes.
Yes, we both did it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everybody's gone.
Yeah.
That can go.
Right.
All right. So let's bring our tokens back. Okay.
All right.
So this is probably final round.
I'm guessing
where we've
Gaia's
got
going to
our-
head straight for the jump point.
That-
Gonna try.
That's her best bet.
Yeah.
At this point, let's see what happens.
I am going to do that crazy maneuver.
Aha, the power slide.
Yes, that one.
Number 2.
Okay. Help me out here, Keifer, or Bridget, somebody.
So it goes over here, and then
Rotates.
90?
Yeah.
That way.
Like that?
Yep.
Okay.
I think it needs to go in the middle.
Oh.
Kind of centered a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right there.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah. That's another reason why they put those lines on the ship token that didn't used to be there.
Smart.
Is for that.
Okay.
When you needed something on the
Well,
side.
yeah, and then I have an action. So, do I want to lock on that TIE fighter, or do I want to try to protect myself?
Definitely in range.
No, I can go after Gaia. Okay, I'm going to lock on Gaia.
With number 6.
6. I just really don't want her getting away with that stone.
I mean,
For the order.
I mean, I will not reveal who is paying me, but let's just say that they think the stone belongs to them.
it's an interesting party. Definitely not one of the passengers on board the Halcyon.
I will not say.
All right.
Calling in a hot tip.
I have a 3. Surprise, surprise, everybody.
Do you need Bess out of the way?
I think you can line it up.
What do you think?
Slide towards me.
Okay.
Like a well-oiled machine. It's not gonna do it. The ship's too big. That's hilarious. So I would say that maybe back the TIE fighter up a little bit until it doesn't do that.
Back it up. Push it forward.
As long as you're still in one range, right?
Yeah.
That's what matters.
Yep.
We'll know you're in one.
Yeah. And then an action.
What's your action? Who are you locking on to?
I'm already locked onto it.
I already have a target.
Oh, yeah.
So then I guess.
You can either lock onto that TIE fighter or you can...
If you're in an offense mode, stacking a target lock and a focus is
that's a good
pretty
idea.
devastating.
Yeah.
Trying to kill me.
Okay, so that's those two. Then long shot goes. He's making a U-turn. I'm gonna put him. That's close. Perfect.
And then
flip him around so he's facing
that way?
this way.
All the way.
This way?
Yeah, he's pulling a
Oh,
U-turn.
totally. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wanted him pointed right at both of those
Okay.
guys. And then we'll take a focus. Thank you. We didn't?
No.
Okay.
You gotta do Gaya and Bess.
Right.
4.
Oof. Did she make it?
She gonna make it?
No, she did not.
So close.
Oh shoot. Okay.
Well,
And her piece will be on that when
Yeah.
you move it.
Oh, the base overlaps.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So
That's a
does
win because Gaya's got 2 stones on her card, so she makes the jump to hyperspace. So that was essentially enough time for her ship to spin up, and she makes it home free.
Yay!
Gaya.
That was a nail biter.
Gaya.
She's wearing the Gaya fan club.
I was secretly rooting for Gaya the whole time.
This is why
what can
I lost.
I say?
She was on the other team too.
Boy.
I do what I need to do to get paid, but really I wanted Gaya to get away.
Traders all around.
Yeah. That was really fun.
That was great.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was hoping to do.
That was an intricate game, and I really liked it.
Okay, we're back from playing X-Wing miniatures, also known as Star Wars X-Wing.
And it's so fun.
Man, you guys, this was really special to be able to play through something this Starcruiser specific with people that we were on the Starcruiser with. I kind of have goosebumps just thinking about it. Thank you for doing that with us.
Oh my gosh, it was our pleasure. This was just such a great way to honor all of our memories and, you know, the love that we all share for this experience.
Yeah. I can't think of anything else I've experienced where the people involved so quickly became so important to me.
I'm going to start crying. Like, really, this is way sooner than I thought I would start crying.
Don't do it, Jennifer. Pace yourself. We have 6 more hours of Halcyon discussion to go. The idea that you could go so quickly from these are complete strangers, I don't know anything about this, do I even like this?
Right.
To this is an important part of my life. These are core memories that I've formed. I can't live without this.
Yes.
It was like in record time.
Yeah.
I actually said to a cast member that before our trip, when I became aware of like exactly how many hours do you have between the time you board and the time the story kind of concludes, I was like, I don't know if that's enough time for me to really like connect or engage at the level people were telling me they were.
Could you imagine more like consecutively? I don't think I could because I think I would just be completely overstimulated. I think it would be overly emotional. I don't think I could handle more consecutive hours of that much, role play.
That would be a lot. It's a lot to sustain. What I think I could do is if there was like a rest day in the middle where you could just
would be amazing.
chill
Just hang out in the climate simulator.
I
in the
could
lounge.
I could definitely see if this were continuing, like paying a little bit more and just having extra days where the action wasn't happening, but you would see like some of the the same players around, but they would not be.
Yeah, I mean, but Captain Keevan's just being a captain.
Yeah.
Like she's not.
Filling out paperwork.
Right. She's just doing her normal captain job instead of trying to save the ship from the First Order.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that.
It's a very busy 48 hours. So when we get back from playing a game, we usually sort of go into a segment that we like to call the Jedi Archives. This is where we like to think about where the thing that we're discussing shows up in the Star Wars lore, in the canon, various types of media, and it's always something a little different. For Halcyon, for something that's relatively new.
Oh, it is deeply embedded in the canon. I have been reading the books and the comics, and it's very much a part of the Star Wars story.
It is.
Do you have now? Are you both doing that?
No,
Is
it's
Jennifer
just me.
taking that and run with it? Do you have a favorite so far?
I mean, I love The Princess and the Scoundrel.
Oh,
it was really special to learn about Han and Leia's time on there and to meet Keivan when she was younger. I just really, really loved that book.
Yeah.
We love that one too.
Giving you young Captain Keivan, I thought was brilliant. So here's where it gets really meta. Part of how we got inspired to start our planning, start our research about how to navigate the experience was from a podcast called Princess and Scoundrel.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah J. Mack, who's our travel agent now, and her husband, Steven, are just some of the most special people. They are so passionate about Starcruiser.
Definitely.
Huge pillars of the community as far as getting everyone excited and rallied around the idea of going in a group.
Yes.
That social aspect of experiencing Starcruiser was something that did not even cross my mind.
That's actually one of the things that I learned about myself that really surprised me. My need for community. I didn't really think that was something that I was longing for the way that I clearly was, because I don't know, there's this community that I never knew I needed, and it's really important to me now.
Yeah.
For me, it makes it more meaningful when you have people you can share it with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Keifer, do you like community?
That was.
Why do you hate community so much?
That wasn't awkward at all.
So what did you think of the group dynamic though? Because that wasn't something I had even considered before we went.
What I really liked was, because we went twice, so we met a couple the first time that we've become really good friends with. They don't live in the same town as us.
They live across the country from us.
And we like have a text thread, and there's not a day that goes by that
we text
don't
every
text
day.
each other. We've gone on several Disney trips. We went to Universal, to the Super Nintendo land. She convinced me to get a Nintendo Switch, so I've been playing Switch games. So like,
she talked us into doing a race, and I am
we've
not
been
a
running.
runner.
Oh, wow.
So
This is an influencer
Oh,
we're
yeah.
talking about. Man. Yeah. So Sarah and Steven, Princess and Scoundrel, sort of came into our lives through some number of YouTube hops or Facebook clicks somewhere along the way. I'm sure during the heart of the pandemic, when looking forward to going on the Starcruiser was kind of a balm in troubled times that we really needed. And then a novel was written about Han and Leia's honeymoon on the Starcruiser, and the novel is called The Princess and the Scoundrel. And Sarah and Steven had the author on an episode of their podcast to talk about the process of writing the novel. And it was like layers of Inception meta that made my brain explode, but it was so great. And it was really delightful hearing her talk, because she's the kind of person I could listen to all day. I clearly love Star Wars.
I actually got to see her at Dragon Con.
Oh,
Was she there?
Oh, nice.
And this was, as of when we're recording this episode, Dragon Con was last week?
About
a week ago?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago? Yeah. Yeah, the amazing costumes. Your pictures were like on fire. And yeah, I love listening to her talk about it. She had to write the book during COVID. And if I remember correctly, not to spoil the episode, but she had to do it without having been on the Starcruiser itself. I think under normal circumstances, you would bring the author in, let them have the full experience, let them soak it all in, and then write the book. And instead, I think she essentially had to work off of photos and probably some video and whatever they could provide her with. And yet all these wonderful details are in the novel, little Easter eggs
You see on the ship.
that you see on the ship.
Love
and
that part of
you
it.
feel like it happened, your brain will completely accept that it happened first back in history in the book, and then you're there seeing it on the ship later, when the reality, I guess, is reversed. But you still totally buy it.
The reality was reversed for me too, because I went on both of my voyages before reading the book, and that's what enticed me to read the book.
Okay.
But then reading the book, it's like, oh my gosh, yes, I did notice that was there, and now it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, some of them were planned in advance.
Oh, definitely.
So it did sort of happen in the correct order because they said, well, these are the things that you need to
put in the book.
Yeah.
that have been already, put on the Halcyon.
Yeah.
And there are so many cues for the Halcyon in Batu as well that I never noticed until people pointed them out. There's an ad for the Chandrilla Starline in Oga's Cantina.
There is?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
And
Is it signage?
Yeah, there's like a sign for it.
Interesting.
And then there's also a piece of fabric draped in the marketplace that is basically Gaya's logo.
Okay, we're gonna have to.
I guess
keep
we
our
have to
eyes
go
open.
back.
I guess.
Definitely.
Interesting. Yeah. So I love stuff like that. For folks who have not been on the Starcruiser, or maybe have been but did not get a chance to see some of these, do you have a favorite Easter egg that you noticed from elsewhere or like in the book, for example?
I would definitely say Han and Leia's initials.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
That
mine.
is absolutely my favorite. Just like
Yeah.
I'm just an emotional person in general, and so reading all about their wedding and their honeymoon and the moment that they do that in the book, I was just like crying the whole time. It's just really special and sweet.
Yeah. Keifer, were you crying?
No, but I don't know. Anything Star Wars related, I just like all the little like character drops. You've got Chewie. I think you've got R2-D2 and 3PO.
Yeah, they do
in one
show
of
up in the bridge trainings.
scenes. I think I've seen that.
Hondo.
Hondo
of course you
shows
got
up,
Hondo.
yeah.
Of course.
Hello, my friends.
Yeah. The Han and Leia initials, it was really touching because as a character moment in a book, I thought it was so thoughtful of her to find a way to come up with that moment because it sort of runs counter to how you think Han Solo would think about things or would do. That would be probably the opposite. He is not going to do that. And a good portion of that book is sort of about those two experiencing aspects of each other that have not had an opportunity to come to the surface
Very much so.
up to that point. And as something to include in a book about characters that you kind of think and think you're familiar with, that makes total sense to me. And so then to finally be in that room and see it, you sort of get hit with the weight of all of those years of watching the movies and growing up with the characters and going through the pandemic, and like it was a lot that all sort of came together in that moment where you and I were standing there looking at that, and they'll get your picture with it. Maybe we can pull up some of that and show it if we want to reminisce a little bit. There was another one that I thought was neat is in the comic series, Halcyon Legacy Comics. It's a 5-issue series that was kind of a one-off that helped establish the Halcyon in each of the Star Wars time periods, which I thought was super smart to do, because that means in the future, anything they want to do with the Halcyon, whenever, they can do it.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. I'm looking at you, Disney. We want more of the Starcruiser.
We need more Starcruiser.
And now it's very flexible and versatile as far as what they can do with it. The format of the comic series is split between two storylines in each issue. One is taking place in present day, which is the sequel time period when you are on the ship if you're on the Starcruiser. And there's a sort of an emergency that happens. There's a child on board the ship, D309, who is the droid that you hear from in your cabin when you're on the ship.
Oh, D309.
And will tell you stories at night, bedtime stories, and kind of looks after you.
She doesn't like it when you betray her, though.
Did you do that?
We did. The First Order interrupted
The only thing I felt bad about.
D309 in our room because we were Croyalists.
I kind of wondered.
And by the end of the trip, she said that we had taught her a very good lesson about human behavior.
You guys.
And she will act all chipper and say the normal things.
Yeah,
that
you don't know that it's
she-
coming. You think, oh, she's forgotten.
And then
She doesn't
like,
know.
She drops it in at the end of every conversation. And even
You've taught me a very valuable lesson about human behavior.
we all had a good time, even when you betrayed me.
Even when you betrayed me.
That sweet droid has trust issues now, and
Yeah,
we know.
for
I think we
sure.
know the
It's
reason
all
why.
our fault.
Man, So D3 in the comic is trying to comfort this child by telling stories, which is a thing that D3 does. And that creates an opportunity to tell stories about things that happened on board the Halcyon in other time periods. High Republic time period, which a lot of us are still getting familiar with right now. The original trilogy time period. The prequel time period. Anakin and Padme were on the ship at one point. Anakin has a lightsaber duel very briefly reflected with Asajj Ventress.
Yes.
And leaves a lightsaber mark on the wall.
The hallway, in the stairwell.
In the stairwell that leads up to the balcony where a lot of the action takes place on the ship. And they, sure enough, you walk in and there it is. So that's a photo opportunity for anyone that read the comics when they're in there. Really so satisfying the way they're bringing all this mixed media together into one thing. I love it.
And not to mention the Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. That was another sort of revelation where I'm not sure I would have necessarily watched it if they wouldn't have incorporated the Halcyon somehow, but I sort of wanted to see like...
Oh, we watch all the Lego Star Wars anyway. Yeah, and so, it's normal. It's like, oh, there's a new Lego Star Wars. Let's watch it. But he had already started this one. I don't know, or like knew something about it. How did you know?
I don't remember. I just remember seeing the Halcyon.
He was like,
we have to watch this.
Yeah, he was like, Jennifer, I need you to sit down. You're going to scream. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, you're going to be so excited about this Lego Star Wars thing. I was like, well, I love him. I know. He's like, no. You're literally going to scream. Just wait. And it started. I was like, oh my God.
Fantastic. Yeah. We got to see one or two parts of the ship that you don't see when you're there. One of them was...
the pool. Where was that?
Yeah, they had a pool.
Where was the pool? I never saw the pool. Definitely would have utilized the pool in Batuu with those 3 cents.
It was like a sun deck.
Yeah. I think one of the blue shirts said to us, don't believe what they tell you. There's no pool.
And the spa? Where's the spa? Never found that either.
Yep. Yeah. Bridget, you told me about a High Republic book called Midnight Horizon by Daniel Jose Older, who I think incorporated the Halcyon into that book. And you are actually starting to read High Republic books at a pretty good clip.
Yeah, I'm just now starting to read them. So I know it's in there, but I haven't come across it yet.
Okay. Yeah, we're on the lookout for that one because now I'm dying to know what else have we said about it.
Yeah.
I want to sort of know every detail. This time on the trip we just did, I really found myself scrutinizing the details. I don't know if you've ever had one of those dreams where you're kind of aware that you're dreaming and you start to like become really fascinated with
I wish I had done that more. I wish that I had paid way closer attention to the small details, but both times I just got so wrapped up in the story that I didn't do that.
They're beautiful.
Absolutely.
You can't do it all.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't. They've packed it full of details, which is great.
Yeah.
Improv rules. You just got to say yes to everything.
Yeah, that's so true. Yes. Yeah. I don't know if we mentioned that we're there on the 275th anniversary.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's correct.
The 275th anniversary of its first trip to Batuu.
Yeah.
Which is a detail I did not pick up on.
Yeah, on its first voyage, it went to Batuu. That was the stop.
Yeah.
Which is why we're going to Batuu, because that is not a tourist destination at all. That is, an outpost in almost wild space, way out in the outer rim.
Yeah.
Where
uncomfortably hot
it is
and humid.
not somewhere that wealthy people on a cruise would want to go.
For its anniversary. Yeah, I had to actually stop to think about the fact that there needs to be a narrative justification for why that's the port of call.
Why would anyone go to
Black Spire Outpost is not a tourist destination.
I think you're being hard on the Halcyon. I've been on cruise ships on the ocean, and they don't always
stop at the best places. That is true.
We don't care what anniversary it is. Get excited. So there's a segment that we like to do on each episode that we like to call Let the Wookiee Win, where we talk about strategy. So for this game, now that you've had a chance to play it, are you any more aware of what you might have done differently or what you might do in a future playthrough strategy-wise? I felt like you might have been holding back just a little bit.
We definitely did not want to take out Gaya's ship but
Yeah, you had one job, and it was to be terrible at this game.
Yeah,
so thank you for
yeah.
doing that. But you're not obligated to do that in the future.
Worried at one point.
I was very worried. I was like, this is going to be the
yes.
worst Halcyon tribute episode anyone has ever done.
No matter how
Stop
much,
shooting at Gaya.
yeah, totally. I mean, no matter how much I love Croy and how much I love the First Order, I also really love Gaya for all of the reasons that you mentioned before. That whole storyline just means so much to so many people in the real world, and I just think that she's a fabulous spokesperson for those kinds of problems that we face. So part of me was like, oh, I'm totally in this. I'm totally in this. But I mean, I've got my Gaya fan club pin on. I've got my Gaya braids, and I just didn't have the heart to shoot down her ship. And in the future, I might not hold back.
Oh, I love Gaya, but if I could have gotten it, I would have won this game.
Yeah, you like the,
You were all over it.
you like
Yeah.
the win. I could tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bridget, did you notice anything strategy-wise? It was a lot to track, a lot to manage.
Yeah, especially it being the first time I played this game.
Yeah, this is your first game ever of X-Wing miniatures, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the first time
I thought you
played
got,
it.
and you haven't played either? I can't remember.
No, we had never played.
Yeah, you guys picked it up really fast.
I think I would use the target function more than I did the first time. Locking on.
Target lock?
Yeah, the target lock. I think that was a really good function to be able to make sure that you have the chance to do what you need to do.
Target lock is considered a really powerful ability in the game. And I'll say my kind of strategy problem was one that I have with almost every game that we play, which is a lot of games these days give you some sort of a special ability, and it immediately goes into my blind spot, and I forget that I have it.
Right.
Unless something is reminding me. There's actually a mechanism in the Clone Wars game that we played in our last episode that helps you remember to check for a certain thing, a certain card effect that they know you'll immediately forget to do. And I really appreciated that. And in this case, as we were designing custom card effects for characters like Vess, Gaya's pilot of her ship, and so forth, and I made a point of putting a target lock ability on Vess's ship that she actually gets as a side effect of sort of her teamwork with Gaya's pilot. Vess's ship essentially gets a free target lock without having to use an action to get it, which is it's a more powerful version of something that's already probably a little too powerful. Plus all those turrets and everything. I was really worried it was going to be too overpowered in the other direction.
Yeah, no,
And
Keifer
it
and
was
I
not.
were definitely holding down our own with the scoundrels and the First Order.
Yeah, you're doing just fine.
Yeah.
In fact, part of the reason why we designed this moment into the scenario where Gaya's yacht would get taken out of commission for the first round, and while Vess travels across the board to get into the freighter, was so that these two ships, which were pretty beefy to begin with, wouldn't just immediately blow everybody else out of the sky and then it's over. And now there's not much to see. That's a real art form that I have a whole new level of appreciation for, is balancing the gameplay.
Right.
That's tough in its own right.
Yeah, I think Vess's ship needs to be in play sooner.
Yeah.
If the goal is to have Gaya survive.
A little more balance. So I think, and this is custom scenarios is a whole aspect of X-Wing that I had really never delved into. Never really was motivated to or inspired to until we experienced the Halcyon. And I was like, well, now what else can we do?
Yeah.
And I think,
I need more Halcyon games. Can you get on that?
yeah, we'll do it. I think now we sort of like have our appetites set up for that. Let's do it.
Yeah. Can we do like a Halcyon D&D type adventure?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's
An
already a
RPG for the
system
Halcyon. Yeah.
set up that we could take advantage of for something like that. There was a member of the community who posted on Facebook not too long ago who made an expansion module for the game Star Wars Villainous.
Oh, yes.
Did you see it?
I did see that. And that game is so fun already.
Yeah.
So adding in those characters has to be just an incredible way to play.
He made it for his girlfriend for her birthday.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Oh, so beautiful.
Automatically best boyfriend ever.
Yeah.
And it was called Shadow over Chandrilla. And I would love to ask him a million questions about it. Clearly artistically gifted, understands game design and so forth, because all the components were crafted perfectly. It looked like something you'd walk into the store and buy.
sure.
And it was a single copy that he made for his girlfriend. Oh my gosh. Just for like the ultimate birthday gift. Love stuff like that. It's so inspiring. Next segment is what we like to call the Bantha in the room. Not every game is perfect. Most are not. Usually there's something about a game, even one that we love, that we would change if we could, or even just refine a little bit in terms of the design. Some of what we just talked about maybe kind of falls into that category. I definitely know what my Bantha in the room is for this game. Was there anything that jumped out at you that you kind of wished you would change? Not necessarily about our scenario that we created, but about how the gameplay works in general.
Oh, mine would be scenario specific.
Okay, that's okay.
I think the way we had set it up, it was very difficult for Gaya to get very many of the singing stones.
Yes.
So I would definitely rework how that could be more possible for her to do.
I'm glad you mentioned that because that was actually something I was really excited about. And I would love to see another playthrough where we architect the scenario in a way that she can do that a little more, because I thought it was a cool concept. It was important to me to have some element of the stone and its kind of navigational influence get reflected in the gameplay. And one of the things that all my favorite game designers do so brilliantly is they'll be able to take an idea like that and convert it into some sort of a card effect or a gameplay mechanic or something that makes you feel like you're experiencing that thing the way the character would. I'm really glad you called that out. I think
that's a good one.
A lot more we could do with that.
Yep.
Yeah, her ship gets disabled so early, and I think that's always going to happen because of how the security is right there.
Yeah.
Because I think the biggest hurdle in getting a lock in this game is obviously the distance of the board, and they're there.
Yeah. So I think there's creative solutions to some of those things, but sometimes they don't present themselves until you play it out and you see it kind of with your own eyes, and then you realize what it needs.
Maybe she's able to get a little bit further in the beginning. Maybe she's able to get to one of the stones before her security turns on her.
Well, also space is vast, and her security ships don't actually have to be super close to her.
Right.
They could be meeting up with her.
That's true.
They could be farther out or meeting up with her.
Yeah, maybe they don't. That's a really good suggestion. Maybe they are rendezvousing from some other location, and it's more when they're doing that meeting point towards the middle of the board when that double cross happens, putting her a little bit closer to some of those stones.
That would solve another problem, which is that most of the activity, because Gaia's ships gets disabled on one side of the board, it would keep that from happening, and so more of the action could happen in the middle.
Yeah. That was another ability that we designed into one of her card effects, is that if she has collected a few of those singing stones, she can discard them to reroll defensive dice. And it was meant to signify the stone sort of influencing the pilot to fly in a way that is successfully evading. Yeah. Which also, that was a great concept. But you got to be able to get some of those to be able to use them. And if the gameplay is weighted in the favor of the First Order or the Black Sun, it just doesn't have a chance to happen. So I think that's fixable. The Bantha in the room for me is something else. It's more related to the game itself. I think there's two. I think it's two Banthas, you guys. Bantha number one is any game that is a collectible type of business model, can get real expensive real fast.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's a deep rabbit hole. I don't know if any of you have gone into that mode before.
I mean, I see it now with the Disney Lorcana cards. Like, people are going crazy.
It's already
for
happening.
Those. Yeah,
that's kind of a new release where that's the model. And I remember thinking, I don't need all the ships. I'll just kind of pick some of my favorites, and like Millennium Falcon. Like that'll be just a few. Boy, that lasted about 5 minutes because they were all amazing. They were all, what I wasn't expecting is they'd all be painted. They'd all have a ton of cards that they would come with. So you not only get the Millennium Falcon with Han Solo, you could play again with, now it's Chewie flying it, or it's this person or that person. You can trick it out with different equipment, different combinations of equipment. Then they release this other ship that comes with this piece of equipment. Now you put that on the Millennium Falcon. There's interaction effects on the card. Like, it's a whole universe of knowledge that players became deep experts in. as part of the tournament play community, which I never was good enough to mix it up in, but that is where you get a lot of that deep learning. So it would become a big time investment and potentially a big monetary investment if you have the collector mentality that kind of needs all of them. So watch out for that if you're like me. I'm just saying.
Say we don't know what that's
We
like.
don't know anything about
Not looking
that.
at your lightsaber
Don't-
wall.
Don't look at it. Just look at the table. The other Bantha for me is the overhauling of the rules over the years, which I think ultimately is for good reason. Probably caused a lot of players like me who were just sort of more casual, like I'm just going to play this game every now and then, to mentally check out, not from not wanting to play, but having that kind of overwhelmed feeling of like, it's too much. I don't have time to learn this. I'll be playing it wrong. What am I supposed to do? Even when I bought my upgrade kits to move my gear to 2.0, I was still fuzzy on like, what exactly do I do? Like, is there anything I keep? Is it just the cards? I had to kind of sit there with it and like inch through it to know
It's a pretty
I was
complicated
doing it
setup.
right.
For
Yeah.
sure.
So not as much for a casual player as maybe it was when it first came out. I think somebody who's not already into more complex games might be a little overwhelmed, but that's okay. Okay, so that's the Bantha in the room. Let's talk a little bit about this cocktail. I think we already got some nice
What cocktail?
initial. Mine's almost gone. Yeah, I think we've got 4 empty glasses that say. I think we give this one 4 empty glasses as our rating. That's how that feels.
4 empty glasses.
Four
and
out of 5 empty glasses.
Yeah, I like it. Oh, we never actually said it on camera, but we modified our cocktail versus the recipe that you saw in the kitchen. I think this was your idea.
Yes, yeah.
Previously, when you were here, when we filmed the first part of the show, including the kitchen segment, you realized we could swap in Prosecco for the 7-Up or the Sprite.
Yes.
Which was a fantastic idea.
Yeah. Did you just
love
think of
it.
that in the moment?
Yeah, I did. Because you want something that has some fizz to it because it moves around the glitter in the glass.
Yep.
And I was thinking, well, Prosecco's pretty fizzy and it has kind of a somewhat similar flavor palette if you get like a nice crisp Prosecco to what you would get with a Sprite or a 7-Up. So why not just switch the two out?
Yeah. I think that was a great idea. I love how this one tastes. We were saying earlier, it has a little bit more of a grown-up beverage sort of a flavor profile. Like,
Yeah, I did try it when we made it the first time with a shot of rum in the drink, but made exactly by the recipe that you had. And I felt like that was a little too sweet. The Prosecco is not quite as sweet as the Sprite, so it kind of tones down the sweetness of everything else.
yeah. So they don't serve it in an alcoholic version in the Sublight Lounge on the ship unless you ask.
Right.
And I'm not actually sure what spirit they use if you do ask.
No either. Somebody throw that in the comments.
Yeah.
Good idea.
I'd love to know.
Yes.
Because here's the thing, and I can't remember if we said this before the kitchen segment. The recipes at Galaxy's Edge and in the Sublight Lounge are not really known.
No.
Some of the Galaxy's Edge ones show up in the cookbook. So we're showing some of those on our show. This one, we don't really know the recipe. So we got a list of ingredients from a Facebook community member named Anna Delernia, who I really appreciate. She posted a list of ingredients that I think is probably pretty close to what you see on the menu. The menus in the parks and on the ship give you the
Kind of
ingredients.
the flavor profiles.
So yeah, you'll kind of have a sense of like roughly what will this taste like, but you're not getting any kind of a recipe. There's no proportions. There's no sense of what to do with those ingredients. And we just kind of had to back into one. We just tried it a few times. We tried a version a few times on our own. And then when you came over, we modified a little bit from there. Then we got into trying the Prosecco version, which I think is maybe my preferred version.
I love that it's versatile, though, that if you have younglings, if you have people who don't imbibe with alcohol.
Oh, our nephew loved it on the ship. I think
So
he
great.
ordered like 3 of them while we were there.
So great.
The non-alcoholic version.
Yep.
And I mean, he really loved it.
Yeah.
It's so unique and unusual looking. It gives you, most of the things they serve there are meant to have a kind of otherworldly look, so you can sort of believe that you're in space or traveling the galaxy with your friends. So I loved the look of it. I love that we were able to achieve something pretty close, I thought, when we went back, I was kind of trying to pay attention to, does this taste more or less like what we did with you? And I think it did. I think it got pretty darn close.
This pairs well with blue shrimp.
It does.
Yes.
Yes.
They complement each other, don't they?
You want those satisfying intergalactic meal pairings.
Yes.
Yeah, the blue shrimp was...
For me, the tofu and root vegetables.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you never know what they're going to put in those little trays in the dining room, but it's always good.
Yep.
The whole cooking staff in there is
incredible.
Geniuses.
Absolutely incredible.
The food was my favorite
Some
part.
of the best food we've ever had.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We were on an episode of Heroes of the Halcyon where I was very effusive about the food, and I just got excited thinking about it.
Yeah.
And wishing I was still there eating. If they would give you a day where that was the mission objective, was try as many of the food options as you can. That's
eat and drink all day. That'd be a perfect day.
Yeah. I'd unlock that achievement pretty easily. Okay. I wanted to make sure we had a little bit of time towards the end of this episode to just think about if we have favorite memories from the Halcyon that we want to make sure we talk about, memories we want to kind of preserve and rehearse. I notice for myself, when I talk about these things with my friends, when I talk about them with you or with the boys, it's a way of rehearsing the information and keeping it current, keeping it from fading or losing detail. Are there things that would feel good to you to remember or think about as you're looking back on your own trips? So you said you went twice?
Yes.
Okay. And it was the second one was the one with us?
Yes.
And how long ago was the first one?
It was November of last year.
Okay.
It was for my birthday.
Oh.
For your birthday. That's cool.
Did they sing you happy birthday in the...
No, nobody sang me the song. I've seen the song on Instagram videos.
Really?
Yeah, nobody sang me the song.
I mean, really, that they sang the song? Like,
Yeah.
is it a different Happy Birthday song?
It's a different.
It's different, yeah.
It's a Star Wars version of a Happy Birthday
like
song.
Happy Birthday had not been
But
invented at this
yes,
time.
Right, that was a long time ago.
It's your born day. In Star Wars.
Yeah. Your life cycle day.
But but yeah, there is a song that they do sing for birthdays, but I also didn't really broadcast that it was my birthday. I'm just not the kind of person who broadcasts that very loudly.
Because they ask you, they say, are you celebrating anything special?
We did tell our server, and he did give us some complimentary champagne, actually.
That's right.
Yeah, but I didn't
You
get
like
a
that
song.
better than a song
But I think
anyway.
the song happens in the lounge.
In the sublet, yep.
Yeah, and we didn't
Yep.
broadcast it in the lounge. We only told our server.
Yeah, you got to tell them.
For dinner.
Yeah. We heard it so many times on our last... There were a
People
lot of
probably
birthdays.
making it a lot of
birthdays in our last trip.
A lot of extra
It's my
birthdays.
birthday.
Yeah.
They also make a huge deal when somebody orders one of the newer drinks called the Crate Reactor.
Yes.
That's a whole production.
They do a song for that one as well.
So if you wanted the cast and crew of the Halcyon to know one thing about how you felt about your trip or appreciated the most, what would it be?
I don't even know where to begin.
It's hard. It's really hard
We
to
could do a whole
get specific.
separate podcast.
Do you
on
have
just
something?
Not specifically for me, but we brought our nephew on the second round, which was part of like the justification. I could, you know, it's
We
a
can
lot.
go again if we take our
I was
nephew.
like, we gotta get him to get this experience
Yeah.
because he's in high school. Get this experience because it's gonna go away.
Oh, I'm so glad you did that then.
Well, we went on the Halcyon twice, and the second time that we went to the Halcyon, you know, we kind of had a reason to go. Or like, obviously, it was closing down, but we were like, we got to justify this somehow to ourselves. So we brought our nephew, who's in high school, and he's really into things like this. And so we took him, and it was like the most memorable part of the whole Halcyon trip. The second time was just seeing him just throw himself into this immersive
Completely
world.
come out of his shell. Just
Oh.
completely come out of his
I
shell.
didn't know what to expect, and so it was really surprising that he just like became that character. We were, you know, playing in the first order track, and he was not, and so like he would come back to his room at night.
Oh
and
no, I would make him come to dinner with us. He didn't even want to come to dinner because he was like, Wraith needs me. He needs me to go do so and so. And I say, I need you to come to dinner and eat with the family.
But he literally would not tell us what he was doing because he was like, your first order.
Can't trust you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he would not trust
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yes. Wraith came to me at one point and I just said, thank you so much for letting my nephew be part of your crew. And he said, oh, Jax is my right-hand man. And that's what he called him the whole time we were on the ship. It's like, you know, I need my right-hand man. Come on, you got to help me with something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was just amazing to see the relationship that Wraith was able to build so quickly with Jax, and Jax just being completely engrossed in his relationship with this character.
Yeah. It's like watching magic unfold in front of your eyes. It's so hard to describe. And did it happen right away, or did it take him a while after you boarded to sort of get rolling?
I think he left quickly.
He definitely threw himself in pretty quickly.
Yeah, I have some memories as a teenager of my parents turning me loose in Disney parks to just kind of spread my wings a little bit, and those are some of my best memories, because that's where I felt like I was starting to move into a new part of my life where they would let me do that. And the Halcyon is a very safe environment to be able to do that kind of thing. That's one of the things I think was really neat about it. There is also an element of you being able to split up, have different experiences, and then come back together and share with each other.
Or not.
What you saw, or choose not to vehemently. But that's what I thought was really something I didn't understand about the story aspect of the Halcyon, is how many choices there were, and how you really are not going to see all of it on any one trip. They really did design it so that you could come back and maybe have a completely different experience. Because you guys did First Order, but is that what you did the first time?
No, the first time we were very much involved with the Saja, with a little bit of resistance thrown in there as well. Actually, you were talking about what is a memory kind of that you want to hold on to.
Yeah.
I'll tear up thinking too much about it.
That's okay.
On our first voyage, we were really focused on the Saja path. But Sammy, and we had a whole backstory about our Force abilities. Sammy pulled me aside at one point in the atrium before he has to do something. How much spoiler are we going into here?
I think we're at a point now where it's okay to talk about the story.
So Sammy has been asked to arrest Chewie, or, help capture Chewie.
That was a big shocker for me, by the way.
Yeah. And so he pulled me aside because he could tell that I was Force sensitive. And we had an entire conversation about the Force and how if he would just open himself up to it, it would help guide him and give him the strength to do what he needed to do. And he pulled this out of me. This is not something that I would have gone in thinking that I was going to do. Like, I'm going to help this guy do something he doesn't want to do by talking to him about the Force. And so that's one of my most clear, vivid memories is prompting Sammy to be able to do something that he didn't think he could because I helped him open himself up to the Force.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
For people who don't know what the Saja are on the ship, do you want to just describe that a little bit?
Yes. So the Saja are a group of people who, they say they're not necessarily Force sensitive themselves, but I think they are. But they help people find the Force within themselves, and they are trained in lightsaber combat. So they train you with a lightsaber and a shield. And they're really just kind of almost spiritual guides on the ship. And it's interesting, a lot of people are like, why is there lightsaber training on a cruise ship? And I can't remember the canon reason for that, but
It's in the comic.
Yeah, I don't think I've read that one.
Yeah.
What's the reason?
In the Halcyon Legacy comics, there's an event that precedes the voyage in an earlier period in history where the Jedi essentially saved the ship, came to the rescue of the crew and the passengers. So to honor that, Shug Drabor, who is the Anzellan character, if you like Rise of Skywalker or Mandalorian, Babu Frick is the is the little mechanic character. And so Shug Drabor is the same species, but from a much earlier period in history, is the original architect of the Halcyon. Tiny little character has built
9
this.
inches.
It's 9 inches tall. Very good. Wow, Bridget busting out with the accuracy. And so around the ship, every now and then you'll see a tiny little door left over.
How he gets through the ship.
Yeah,
or got through the ship
from the days of Shug Drabor. So so the lightsaber training pod, which we definitely need to be there if we want to have a lightsaber experience, is sort of narratively justified by Shug Drabor wanting to honor that event where the Jedi came to their rescue.
That's wonderful.
By building in some lightsaber training into the experience.
That's wonderful.
I love that you had that sort of crossover moment between two of the storylines.
Right.
That's really special.
Yeah, we were not on the Resistance path. We had barely interacted with Linka or Captain Keifer or Sammy at that point.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he and I even got into that conversation. I can't remember, but it was a very poignant moment.
Yeah. Keifer, what about you? Are there moments that come to mind first when somebody mentions the Halcyon?
Oh, anything with the mysterious Yoda voice. I always enjoy that on Batu, the light, building the lightsabers.
Yeah.
So,
yes, the holocron moment when we did the Saja path on the first voyage.
It's times like 12 on the Halcyon.
Yeah.
I just
In the
love
finale too.
That's potent.
Yeah.
Especially like anybody who has Star Wars memories rooted at a sensitive point in childhood. I don't know. You just kind of associate that the voice of Yoda with
I think he's your
something
favorite Star
kind
Wars
of powerful
character, isn't he? Yeah, Yoda is his favorite character.
It goes to your core a little bit.
I will openly
Grover too.
admit.
I mean, anything with the voice.
I will openly admit I was openly weeping when they opened the holocron, and actually when Rey first said, starts talking about look what we found, and she opens the box and you see it. I gasped so audibly that Rey looked at me and said, I see you know what this is. And I mean, it's just weeping the whole time. And I looked over at him and definitely the man tears that you don't want to let fall. I could see glistening in his eyes while Yoda was talking.
It's real.
It does hit you.
There is a holocron in the finale. So all of these storylines that you could experience on the Halcyon all sort of intersect in a big crescendo finale moment. This is something I think maybe people did not know. I didn't really understand it. I think people really think, oh, there's some Star Wars decor. And maybe people talk about Star Wars while you're in there, but they think of it as a hotel. They don't understand that it's a narrative that you are part of that comes to a finale, a very grandiose finale that I also was not ready for because it interrupts the second dinner seating when alarms go off.
Yes.
And they send you back to your muster stations, which you learned about as your very first thing on the ship. So it's a perfect bookend. And it also makes it so when the finale needs to happen, they have to explain to you where to go.
Right.
Or what to do. You already know. And they made a big deal out of getting everybody excited about where to go. Also brilliant. And there's a holocron involved in that finale. And I'm assuming that that's that holocron.
Yes.
And yet I didn't really know because I was not in that scene.
Yeah.
I was somewhere else doing some other thing.
Yeah.
That was also probably making me weep openly in front of a bunch of complete strangers.
There are sub finales that you can be a part of, and you
Yes.
cannot do them all.
No, timing wise,
You just can't.
impossible.
Yeah, they're all super emotional. On the first trip, I did such a bad job of getting really integrated with any of the stories because I didn't know really how you do that. And I kind of defaulted into one of the Resistance storyline sort of has multiple threads you might or might not be part of.
Right.
One of which is with the cruise director of the ship, Lenka Mock, who turns out to be a Resistance affiliated type of person. And I kind of wound up on Lenka's story path and wound up in her sub finale, which takes place in the engineering room.
Yeah, we've never seen that one.
And it's this performer who was playing Lenka Mock on my voyage. It was the same for both. We actually had a lot of the same cast for both. She's so brilliant, so inspiring. She has to give some very inspirational moments to really kind of rally people to the cause. And man, did I buy into it, hook, line, and sinker. So for somebody who was not like, I have to get onto the Lenka Mock path, I have to do this, I'm dying to do it, I was still crying anyway because she's so good. I bet they all are, but that was the one that I sort of saw as my first experience and was like, oh, okay, I get it now. I get what they are capable of in this place. This is amazing. And the second time I did it again, I did the Lenka Mock storyline again, more on purpose this time because I really love her and I love that cast member, but also was able to do much more of the Wraith and Gaya storyline. So a lot of this design of this scenario and figuring out how to build the yacht And all of this for X-Wing Miniatures was done off of that first trip. And since we sat and played with you, we went on the ship again, and now I knew what I was looking for. There were things I wanted to know, questions I wanted to ask. And the Wraith and Gaya storyline is so beautiful and so just inspiring and emotional. You know, it's tough to talk about without getting emotional, but there's a specific... I thought I could do it. There's a specific scene that is super private. It takes place in
the cargo bay.
In the cargo bay. The benefit is I can edit out as much of this as I want to. It takes place in the cargo bay, and there are people who film it and probably put it on YouTube. And I had made a distinct point of not watching it, partly because it actually felt like it would be a little bit of a privacy violation because it's kind of a private thing.
It's a very private moment for sure.
And you were in it, right? Was that your first one?
No, we actually have never been on that in that moment. I know people who have, and hearing them speak about it, just as emotional as you, every one of them.
Yeah. So I kind of was like, I just want to respect that, like give that its space, and also had partly avoided watching it because I was like, if I ever do get to see it, I don't want it to be like, I'm seeing this for the 5th time. I already know exactly what's going to happen. But I really didn't think there'd be a way for that to happen. And this time it did. And I felt so fortunate. Because you're witnessing artists at the top of their craft. You're witnessing fellow passengers being emotionally engaged in a level that I can't even imagine another Disney theme park thing does that. Not even in the same ballpark.
No. And it's in this small area, and when we were in it, there were a ton of people.
Yeah,
it was packed.
I've heard that sometimes some
packed.
voyages they've had to do it outside of the cargo bay in the hallway.
We were almost at that point.
There
were so many people in
Yeah,
there.
it was shoulder to shoulder.
You're in a small room with all these people, and it's highly emotional.
And yeah, for the people who haven't experienced this moment, can you tell us what happens?
Yeah. It's going to be a dramatic oversimplification. But in terms of story beats, you are getting the sort of the conclusion of the Ionization journey that it's been on. Takes like 10 seconds. You're seeing the passengers who were all involved in different ways in the heist kind of getting recognized for their part. You're seeing Wraith Cole, who you're set up to think is kind of a schmoozy scoundrel,
celebrity manager,
questionable ethics and morals. Turns out to be super dedicated to this cause because of his own background. And grew
the
up,
cause of getting the stone back to Ryloth.
Yes. Grew up on Ryloth, a little bit like a foundling, like Din Djarin style. So it has this very personal connection to the culture. Even though he's not a Twi'lek, he's sort of like culturally part of the family. And at least that's how I interpreted it. And you feel like you're being invited in as an outsider to sort of bear witness to something important. So you get to see him, instead of giving it directly to Gaya, he'll usually select a passenger who is particularly instrumental in the process of getting it. And that's the person who will give it. And they do a pretty good job of identifying somebody who kind of needs that moment in their life. And so to be able to watch that happen for that person was so special. And again, I would be hard pressed to think of anything else I can go do as an audience member that's going to be that profound or feel that personal. I did not feel like I was in a Disney park. I'm not even sure I felt like I was in a Star Wars moment. I felt like I was in something that was just like the pure essence of a true moment, like a life truth that was wrapped around me like a blanket. That's the only way I can think of to describe it. So good job, Halcyon cast, crew, writers, art department,
directors.
There's probably a zillion people. You know, we were giving cast gifts and things to try and recognize, and in our minds there's like a whole sea of people that you don't see who probably don't get much credit, who are also coming together to bring that moment together. So thank you to all of you folks as well for the role that you play. Amazing work, amazing creative achievement, just kind of unparalleled in the creative world.
It's the greatest thing that Disney it doesn't feel like you're in the parks, but it's part of the parks. It's the greatest thing that Disney Parks has ever done.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's not even close.
Agreed.
Yep. So I guess I talked about my favorite moment, Bridget. What was yours? Is there anything else that you can think of? Because you were there with me, and I know you felt that every bit as much as I did, and I didn't mean to scoop you if that's the one you were going to talk about. But is there something else that you would also want people to know about?
For me, I think there were a lot of special moments, but what I really loved was to see the families interacting with each other, and especially the younglings, and to think about these special memories that the families are creating that they're going to remember the rest of their lives. And those are the moments that stick out for me. Yeah. That dad and the 3 sons on our last voyage, when I think about them and how special that was for them.
Yeah.
And some of the interactions I had with some of the younglings who participated in helping Chewie escape from the brig. You know, I'd see them coming down the stairs and I'd say, I think I saw Chewie and I think he needs your help. And the younglings would be like, oh, yeah, he does need my help. Let me go.
I better get on that.
Yeah, I better get on that.
Wait, was this before or after Croy turned you?
Oh, Croy.
Bridget's loyalties are a little fluid.
All over the place.
I told Croy, for a price.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I could help him for a price.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's something so heartwarming about watching a whole team of people sort of making a wall with their bodies while this Wookiee
we have definitely
kind of crouches down and it's like sneaking through the atrium.
We've definitely been part of that.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Just seeing people be in awe of it all and knowing that they've never experienced anything like that before.
Yeah,
those are the faces I'll remember. Those are the stories I'll remember.
Hide Chewie on the first voyage and showed a holoscan to Croy of Chewie sneaking on the ship on the second voyage.
We're all over the place too.
This is so funny. We considered it because I tried to snap a picture of Chewie up on the balcony and it came out pretty blurry because the way the lighting is in there, you got to have your settings really dialed in if you want a clear shot sometimes. And the picture I got of Chewie was remarkably similar to that very blurry Sasquatch photo through the woods. We thought it would be sort of funny if Bridget was on First Order track and offered that to Croy as some sort of a benefit and it was really kind of like not usable. Like, I'm not even sure what this is a picture of.
That's great.
There were quite a few Croyalists. I couldn't really wedge myself in to stand out.
Yeah. The cast member playing Croy on this trip was different than our previous trip and was not somebody I had seen before and was really killing it, like working so hard. They all work their tails off to bring these characters to life. But man, this like the physical exertion of this guy was great, and the crowd interaction was fantastic.
They all bring very different versions of Croy to life.
Yeah.
I mean, every single one of them has just really puts their own spin
Yeah,
on
they're all
Croy.
completely different from each other, aren't
yeah,
they?
Absolutely.
My favorite part is when he's with the younglings and they
Oh.
have the little droids and he's looking for SK.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Here's the droid," and but all the kids like for both voyages
Ramming
that we were
their
on,
droids
are ramming
into
their
Croy's
droids
feet.
into his feet
Yeah.
over and over again.
That's another thing I think I didn't fully understand, and I bet if people who have not gone on the ship and maybe just hear about it, it doesn't click. The agenda or the itinerary they give you as you're boarding is full of things that are meant to kind of be like what you'd expect you'd have on a normal space cruise. Games, food, just fun activities.
Dance lessons,
And
rock lessons.
the idea being that as you are in the middle of those things, other
things are
Star
happening.
Wars hijinks ensue, as you would put it.
Yeah.
And so and I thought, oh, they've need to fill some time. So they've got some droid races in here or whatever. But everything like
No,
that
everything has a purpose.
Has another purpose.
Because Croy comes looking for SK, and that's a reason, an excuse for them to say, no, like here's
here's a
all the
droid.
here's a droid,
What
here's
droid
a
do you
droid.
want?
Yeah. Which droid are you looking for? There's
Yeah.
a bunch of droids right here.
Yeah, it's so great. Like the people that came up with that concept of it, of everything on the Halcyon existing on multiple levels, so great. That's probably more than anything the piece that would make me want to go back again and see what I missed, because I know I missed a lot.
Of course.
Even after 2 trips, I don't even think we scratched the surface. Dying to know what else
No.
happened in there.
And this late in the game, there were a lot of people who had been multiple times.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
They were focused
Experts.
on getting those call outs at the end. And
Yeah. That's why it's,
Getting to do specific.
Yep.
you know, we've talked about some of the shows and other media that influenced us. Like Princess and Scoundrel obviously was like influential in our first getting involved. Thank the Maker is like part of our morning ritual. Who else? Mike from Armor Party, who's also part of the Thank the Maker network, also has an Etsy shop called Hondo Supply, which makes beautiful materials. You ordered some dice from him.
some Sith dice
Sith
that I
dice.
used on my first order costume.
Yeah. Bridget had I don't know why I couldn't think of this in a million years, but Bridget was like, we need to incorporate gaming elements into our
that's
looks
so
if we're
great.
from Board Game Cantina.
sure.
Yeah.
And we thought it would be funny on this second trip if our second day look, we kind of like palette swapped into more of like a first order sort of a look. And so she got Sith dice.
They're red and black.
To
And I
act
made them
as-
into pins and
Yeah.
have chain on them. And it was,
so
they're really
creative.
cool. He did a nice job. And he wrote a little note on a card that said, "Rolling with the dark side."
Yeah, this whole community is so unbelievably creative. But Heroes of the Halcyon, another pillar of the community, their podcast has been going all year or more. And I had actually avoided listening to much of it because they do get into some details about people's memories of being on the ship. And I didn't want to know all of it before we went for the first time. Now I'm kind of really enjoying delving into other people's experiences. And I am starting to
too.
hear a lot
Yes.
of the things that I did miss.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love reading on the Facebook groups for your voyages, people's stories. They're all coming through now, and all their photos are coming through. I love that.
Yeah. That post-voyage support you can get from the groups is an important component I kind of underestimated the value of, because the emotion and the different thought processes and questions and that sort of thing kind of come in waves. Sometimes you're like, yeah, I'm over it. I'm fine. We had a great time on the Halcyon, and now I'm like fully processed it. And then 2 days later, you're like, why does everything seem so different now that it's like your life before you went on and
Yep.
after you went on?
Exactly. Yeah, I told him when we left after our first voyage that seemed like it was real life, and this doesn't seem real anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get emotional now again. I think the reason for that is because they provided us a place to play as an adult.
Yeah.
And we don't have that enough in our lives.
Yeah. I agree with that.
And they put you immediately into a community of people that you know have something in common with you and are all working together on specific objectives during the voyage. And it's just this place that you feel like you can let all your guard down. And you don't have to be anybody that you don't want to be. You can be exactly what you want to be in that moment. You can make the decisions that you want to make. It's not going to lead to any lasting consequences in your life. And all you do is play.
Yeah. Yeah. There was such a natural connection between Board Game Cantina as a show and as a place to play, and this kind of long-term vision that we thought was for like next year to go on the ship, because it does feel like the ultimate expression of that idea of safe space to just come together, be yourself, and be able to play. And that brilliant cast and crew, they do such a beautiful job of creating that and holding that space for you. There are a lot of introverts in the Starcruiser community, we've noticed. We both have some introvert tendencies, and we wondered, will that make it harder to experience the Starcruiser properly? Will we just be more passive and observe? But we started to notice that other people who were fully leaned in, fully costuming, after we'd get to know them a little bit, would sort of hesitantly admit, I'm really kind of an introvert. Our roommate on this voyage talked a little bit about it, and we realized there is something about this experience that attracts people and makes them feel like it's okay to be you and not apologize for it, and just fully experience whatever aspects
to be celebrated for it.
Yeah, not just be accepted or put up with.
You don't get that in everyday life.
Keifer, how do you feel as an introvert about experiencing the Starcruiser?
I feel great about it. I think you hear people talk about the advertisement not being good to like show what it really is, but I'm starting to think the opposite is true. That they say like, you're going to have your own Star Wars adventure, and that is what happens. The problem is that we've been inundated with advertisements for things like that. You're going to have your Star Wars adventure. Go to Galaxy's Edge. You're going to have your Star Wars adventure.
That's true.
Do XYZ. And when you show up, it's fun, but it's not, you're not living your Star Wars adventure. And it's not just about Star Wars, but other products are like that, where they say like, you're going to have this type of adventure. You're going to do this thing. And you show up and it's, a themed hotel or something like that. And so I think when people were watching ads and different things like that, and they saw like, have your Star Wars adventure, they probably were thinking in the back of their mind, I'm going to show up and this is going to be a themed hotel.
Yeah.
And that's not what it is. It really is a Star Wars adventure. You're spending 48 hours in basically surrounding yourself in 3D of a Star Wars movie where you're a character in it.
Every single crew member will tell you what planet they're from, how they wound up on the ship. You really start to believe it. It's so great.
Yeah. Keifer, did you ever imagine that we would leave with friends on that first voyage?
I don't know. I'm open to things.
We've never been the kind of people who, I teeter between being an extrovert and an introvert depending on the situation. If I'm in a situation where I need to be on stage, I have no problem with that. But if I'm in a situation where I'm just being me, it's very hard for me to go out of my way to start a conversation with someone. And when we go on vacation, when we go to Disney, when we're out living our lives, I do not start conversations with strangers. That is not me. It is very, very challenging for me to come up with something to say to someone I don't know. And again, the Starcruiser is just such a safe space that it's not difficult to walk up to a complete stranger and say, "What planet are you from?"
Yeah.
Because the groundwork is all laid there for you to do that.
Yeah. Everything on that ship is a conversation starter.
Yes.
Especially when people start showing up in these amazing outfits. In its early days, I don't know what population were all dressing up on the ship. Now it's like basically
It's almost
everybody,
everyone, yeah.
which is really wonderful to see because it really helps you buy into the reality of it. And someone's walking by and I'll be like, "You guys all look amazing." And they'll be like, "Oh, where are you from? Can I give you one of our souvenirs?" And next thing you know, they're following you on Instagram and now you're inviting them over. And then the fact that we got to ride home with you and have somebody to be able to process some of those feelings with is really special for us. I'm super grateful for that. Okay, so we've made it through the emotional gauntlet
Barely.
of talking about how Starcruiser feels, which I don't normally open up like that and start talking about that kind of thing. But I do think it's important that people know who maybe thought, oh, it was a Star Wars hotel, that is absolutely not what was created here. This is something really special that goes so far beyond that. It's mind-boggling. It's so complex. I'm amazed it worked. Like technologically, the amount of innovative technological breakthrough to make that storytelling happen is on another level. The performance and just emotional, like human engagement from the cast is unbelievable.
The cast, the crew, the designers, everyone involved in the artistic aspects. It's just mind-blowing what they put together.
The software engagement, the droid that is in your room that talks to you digitally has better responses than Siri and Google and
definitely.
If I could go back in time and show my 10-year-old self any one thing that's on that ship, like D309, I would absolutely have my little mind blown and not think that was possible. I'd be like, that's what the future is going to be like.
I would have talked to D309 for hours.
The whole time, yeah.
If I was a little kid, that's the only thing you showed me. I'd be like, all right, we're going to just
not leaving this room for
all night
for 3 days.
Yeah, I thought D3 was going to be a series of like canned bits of narrative that she would deliver. I did not think you could sit there and hold a full conversation.
And it was very different. I don't know about for you, but our first voyage and our second voyage, every conversation with D3 was very different.
A different one.
Yeah, from the first time.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
So much more sophisticated than what I would have thought. And that basically holds true for everything. The food was so gorgeous, the way they present it. The second night, the way they bring it all out.
Absolutely. Hats off to the chefs. Incredible.
Really neat.
The servers.
The
chemists.
Yeah, they're engaging all of your senses. The people like to talk about the smell. The ship has a very distinct smell. And
Although if you want to get that smell in your nose again, go to the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas.
Really?
It is almost an identical scent.
That may be the closest we can get for a while here. I am holding out cautious optimism that Disney learned way too much from this experience, which from what I gather is very heavily data driven. I think there is a data gold mine in there
For sure.
that they are probably in the process of going through and learning from right now. And they have to have seen the response from the community since the closure announcement. And there could be two different reactions I can picture. One reaction is, oh, too little, too late. Like, sorry you weren't here showing up for this before, which I now also understand is also not what happened. I think the Starcruiser actually was doing quite well. And this closure, I think, maybe is related to things going on in other parts of the business. So I would love to see them preserve this for those of us that really fell in love with it. Even if it takes a different form, maybe it evolves somehow. Maybe they find different versions of the business model. But I think they know what they have here.
I hope they at least continue the stories of the characters that we became so attached to.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to see more books or comics or something about Keifer and Linka and Croy. I'd really like to know what happens to them after the guests leave the ship.
Yeah. And if they don't, then we're going to reconvene and we'll be playing our next tabletop scenario.
Definitely.
And we'll just fan fiction the hell out of this until we're satisfied. But yeah, we are very attached to these characters. Other people maybe need more time.
We didn't even talk about Sandro and Wani.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely imperative to your voyage for so many people, especially those introverts who don't know how to get started and interact.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have watched Sandro just pull people in who are just sitting there not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
He has got like the heart of the ship and just totally understands how to bring people in and become friends with people very quickly. And just the story with Sandro and Wani together, the love story tugs at my heart, of course.
Yeah.
Just I love them so much too.
Sandro, for those of you who aren't familiar, Sandro is an aspiring musician who is on board the ship, is in reality playing an instrument. Much of the time he's there right in front of you, whether in the atrium or elsewhere. Wani is a Rhodian character. So if you're familiar with Greedo, you know what a Rhodian looks like. But what I have never seen in all my years as a Star Wars fan is a beautiful Rhodian.
Mm-hmm.
This, I think, was perhaps a new concept.
Absolutely.
That the designers decided to tackle. And Wani is extremely stylish as a character, but technologically so impressive that everyone is in awe the whole time she's around, because you absolutely believe you just interacted with an actual Rhodian who came through. On this most recent trip, Wani came over and struck up a conversation with me like 6 times in Huttese.
Yeah.
And you just sort of play along, and she responds to you as though what you said, like you completely understood her.
Right.
And after a while, like I had myself convinced. I was like, I guess I
know Huttese.
Do I know Huttese?
Definitely.
That's the best part, because it's not like we don't have examples of Rhodians who could speak standard. So
yeah,
they made a decision.
They did.
Yeah.
that we're gonna have this interaction, and we're gonna see what happens with it. And like, it's fun because she's carrying on a conversation with you, but you're doing a lot of the heavy lifting as the person talking. Like, you're filling in gaps. And so like you're having your own little Star Wars
I don't know what
adventure.
you're talking about. I totally understand Wani.
No.
I
I don't speak Huttese, so I don't know that. But I could tell what she was saying.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
So it's very much in the spirit of improv that kind of is driving a lot of the experience. But you're right. The cast members' body language and tone and the way they're sort of addressing and engaging you can tell a lot of what they are getting at. And I got to say, I wrote some feedback when I was responding to the survey after the first trip. And I said, I think Croy has the second hardest job on the ship, which is to recruit people into something that they may not have shown up even considering.
Right.
That I think is pretty tough. Wani is having to engage passengers speaking an alien language and having their face covered, and maybe being an element of the experience that people didn't even know was there.
Right. And don't completely
to be ready for it.
understand. I can imagine that some people might not know what a Rhodian is who come onto the Starcruiser and might not have that familiarity with, the species or, what's going on with this character.
What am I supposed to do?
Right.
I just kind of instinctively just started saying whatever I was going to say and hoped that was all right. And then later I was like, oh, of course, that's what they mean for you to do. But I didn't really know.
Yeah.
So hats off to the cast member or cast members who are bringing Wani to life, because I feel like that's its own special art form.
Yeah.
I hear actors talk about mask work and what that is like to try and pull off and do well. And these people are just incredible at it. Great job. And Sandro, creating music in real time.
Absolutely.
Writing. Were you involved in the song?
Yes, on our second voyage, we got to help Sandra write the love song for Wani.
Please forgive me, love song.
Yeah.
Yes, please forgive me, love song.
He's apologizing to Wani for something that happens earlier.
Yeah.
And Bridget asked me what it was, and I'm not sure I know what he did that pissed her off. Do you know?
He sang the First Order is the Worst Order song and got himself arrested when she was trying to get him not to do that.
Yeah, the whole thing is just delightful.
Yeah.
And you're right. Your comments back at the top of this part of the conversation where you were saying it's a way into this type of interaction for people that maybe need it a little gentler, a little more understated.
So true.
Yeah. On our first voyage.
Not ready to march up to Croy.
Right.
And like be all in.
Yeah. He's like the gateway.
On our first voyage, Keifer and I were just standing in the atrium, not really doing anything. And I think that's what Sandro is so good at. He targets the people who look like they're not involved. And he grabbed us and he was like, hey, Wani and I are going on a date. Would you like to go with us?
Yes, we were on their
You
first
double
date.
dated
Yes,
with
so we
Wani
were,
and Sandro?
We were on their first date on our first voyage.
Oh my
Did you go in the lounge?
No, we sat out in the atrium.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we sat on the atrium and they were chit-chatting with each other and then they would chit-chat with us and
that is
then
so
other
delightful.
hijinks ensued and broke up the
Yeah.
date.
Yeah.
But yeah, that we went on their first date with them on our first voyage and then got to help write the Forgive Me Love song on the second voyage. And I mean, he really is a master. Everyone who, plays this role is a master of taking actual words that the people around him are giving him in the moment and writing this song that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
And then we also got to experience a fight between Wani and Sandro in the Sublight Lounge, where he said quite a few things he shouldn't have said about the difference between Gaya and Wani, and their kind of status in the hierarchy of celebrity. And then we had to help Sandro figure out that he needed to give Wani a little bit of space before he went and found her to apologize. And then he needed to be very, very contrite.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's those special moments that are not on your data pad and are not anything that you would ever guess were about to happen.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that just stick with you.
Yeah. We waited to get a picture with Gaya. Oh, okay. You need to tell the story about our first trip when we took our picture with Gaya. Do you remember what was going on?
I was on a FaceTime call with my mom wishing her a happy birthday.
From space.
From space.
Oh, wow.
And I went to the corner of the atrium and Gaya was exiting. And she walked by and she said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm having a holo call with my mom. It's her birthday today."
Aww.
And so she got on and she wished my mom a
my
happy
gosh,
birthday.
That's so awesome. I love that.
Mom was very confused about what was
That's
going on.
amazing.
Who is this?
Person.
I was
That's
like, "Mom, it's a galactic
fantastic.
superstar."
It's the Galactic
You haven't heard of
Superstar.
her?
Everybody
Yeah.
knows Gaya.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So the fact that this Gaya cast member would come and engage you and was trying to create a special moment for you and your mom when she could have just as easily walked right
Kept
out.
going.
I think had an exit maybe for that part
Yeah.
of her scene. Chose to try and make that a little bit extra for you.
Yeah.
So special.
wonderful.
That was great.
Just not, I mean, it doesn't surprise me one bit now that I think about it, now that we know what we know about these people and how amazing they are. Really great. Yeah. Trying to imagine writing a song in real time. Oh, the other thing I was going to mention about Gaya. So on our second trip that we just did, we waited in line for a photo with her. And I thought we were just going to like snap a quick photo and move on. It's the next person's turn. But she asked me something about Wani, who's
She told us you should go talk to Wani.
Yeah. She was like, do you think Wani's okay? And we sort of turned and looked, and she's over in the corner by herself, just like.
And
She was
Sandro
mad at
is
Sandro.
skulking.
Yeah.
She was mad at Sandro. The interaction had just happened, I'm sure.
And I was like, oh, now that you mention it, yeah, she does look sort of mad.
Yeah. And she's like, maybe you should go over there and talk to her. And we're like, yeah.
Okay.
We
Okay.
should.
Of course we should.
Yeah.
You're telling me I should. Of course I should.
I will do
said,
anything you
"Don't-
say.
I think
Don't
Gaya
you know
just gave
her
us a
better than
mission.
me? You should do it.
Yes, we'll do it.
Of course.
Anything else? Yeah. Really, you're right. Sometimes it's not the big grandiose
Right.
lightsaber battles.
Yeah.
It's these little personal moments.
Yeah,
that
the
stick
unplanned
with you.
moments are just, I don't know, in my opinion, even more memorable than the written plot points.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to start crying again, so I'm going to really limit this. But on this second trip, I had a series of very special Wraith related moments, which I didn't know a whole lot about the Wraith story, so I didn't actually know what there was to experience. So I didn't really go in there looking for it. But this cast member really went out of his way multiple times to try to give me like the ultimate experience. And I won't go into all of them, but the one, because this is kind of what made me think of it, is when you mentioned that it's the small ones that really like get at you, because you could just as easily miss them. I think is maybe why it seems like so significant. You and I were coming around a corner, one level down, the elevator is opening, and Wraith is in the elevator by himself with one of the Saja.
Yeah.
And he's like, "John, Bridget, get in here." And I was like, what's going on? And so we get in there with him, and they are having a conversation where she is tipping him off about where the Ionization stone is, which I thought, I had kind of limited knowledge of the storyline. I thought he knows that information coming onto the ship in the first place.
Well.
And I think now so I'm still not 100% certain, but I think what it is Gaia knows in general terms where
It's on
that it's on the ship and needs him to figure out its exact location. He gets this hot tip from the Saja, who she had a little bit of an attitude of like, I don't want to get super involved, but I also kind of like believe in doing what is right. And so all I'm saying is this compass in the atrium, you might want to like have a look at it. And
oh, what a cool moment.
we're like observing this in a private elevator ride. It's just like the four of us riding up
That's
to the
amazing.
atrium. And then he brings us over and one or two other people sort of joined and gave us this total goosebump moment where his character is having he's having the realization that he's found it.
Right.
So you're getting to witness it like in real time.
Yeah.
So good. And he turns around, like, so he's got his back to us. He's looking in the case, turns around, and he's got tears in his eyes. And he has to explain to us what the stone is and why it's in the compass, and we have to sort of pretend like we don't know. And that is kind of like the outset of the heist. It's like now it begins. And from there, you get pulled into data pad missions on your phone, on your mobile device, where you're getting messages from Wraith, inviting you to help prepare for the heist in different ways. And so one of the ways that we got involved is he has you log into one of these terminals in the atrium that looks a little bit like a Star Wars version of an ATM.
Yeah.
It's super cool. You kind of just want to push all the buttons. And he says if you get into the restricted part using your band, which now will let you, now that he's invited you in, and he wants you to test the alarm system that protects the compass display case.
Oh, that's so cool.
Like it's a diamond on display in a museum. And you basically trigger a timed alarm test that's going to happen later in the day. So you have to pay attention to what time it is and come back at that time when it's going to be a silent alarm test, and pay attention to, is there any kind of like security response when the silent alarm is tripped? And so we watch it, and a few other people were involved by this point. And so we're kind of standing around like trying to be all nonchalant. And for a minute we're like, like, did we do it wrong? Like maybe we didn't click the right thing or whatever. And then sure enough, the elevator doors open.
2 minutes later.
Exactly 2 minutes later, on the dot, 2 First Order stormtroopers come out of the elevator, come over and start flanking the compass case. Like now they're guarding it. And we're like, everyone looked at their watch. Like, how long was that?
Funny.
Oh, it was exactly 2 minutes. And then sure enough, later on, you get a message from Wraith on your data pad where he's like, what happened?
Oh, that's awesome.
So that kind of in a tight integration between all of those different aspects of the experience was just so groundbreaking. So I had to call that out as like a perfect example of the small moment being the one that kind of like hits the hardest.
Yeah.
So grateful for that. So I think with that, let's go ahead and roll into our award ceremony, where we're going to give away a prize that we announced on our last episode, where we played Star Wars The Clone Wars based on Pandemic. We are going to give away a copy of Star Wars The Clone Wars to one lucky YouTube subscriber. If you want to win prizes on our show, what should you do?
Subscribe.
To
Board Game Cantina.
On
YouTube.
Yes. We're working on our YouTube subscribership. We're still a little baby podcast, so we got to get those subscribers up. So the incentive is to win prizes by being one of our YouTube subscribers.
What if you're a YouTube subscriber who has been on the show?
That's extra special. All of our show guests get a very special gift that you can only get one of 3 ways. These are our challenge coins made by Zach the Maker, who's a total pillar of the community. You can earn one of those coins by being a guest on the show. You can also earn it by being a current or former cast member of the Halcyon or Galaxy's Edge. You can also make a donation of $100 or more to Make-A-Wish Foundation and just send me a copy of the receipt, and we'll drop that coin in the mail to you, because you will also be one of our heroes.
It's such a beautiful coin.
The prize is Star Wars The Clone Wars, and the winner, we already randomly selected from our list of YouTube subscribers, is Jason Tor. So congratulations,
Congrats, Jason.
We will wish you Tabuite with our empty Gem of Ryloth glasses.
Tabuite.
We toast you with our cocktail that's gone now because it was so good. All right, so for our Halcyon Tribute episode, we wanted to do something a little extra. So we actually have a whole lineup of prizes that we're going to flash up on the screen for you. Nice. We are giving a copy of Star Wars X-Wing, formerly known as X-Wing Miniatures. This is the second edition, so you will not have to go through any of the upgrading or conversion that I did. You can just play it right out of the box, and you are more or less up with the times. Awesome. What else are we going to give away? We're going to give away a copy of Sabacc, which we played in our very first episode. However, the version of Sabacc that we're going to give away is the version that they sell in the gift shop on board the Halcyon.
It's a beautiful one.
And that is a different variation of the game that I think we're going to need to play on a future episode of the show.
Yeah.
That version of Sabacc is called Coruscant Shift. And it's slightly different rule set. We played it in the Sublight Lounge. They actually have a holo Sabacc table with little holographic cards that appear in front of you. It really makes you feel like you're playing in the Star Wars universe. So you're playing with other players around the table. We played with physical cards with some of our fellow passengers late into the night. So we're going to give away a copy of those cards. Comes with a beautiful set of gold and silver Sabacc dice, super collectible, and now about to be super rare. These items are already fetching a hefty sum on eBay, and so we didn't want you to have to do that. We want you to be able to just win a copy, so we hope you'll subscribe. Next, we're giving away action figures of the droids that you encounter on board the Halcyon. One of the droids is SK620, who is very near and dear to all of our hearts.
Oh, yes.
And is a surprisingly critical part of the storyline. There's a lot going on with SK in that story, so excited to be able to help somebody take SK home. The other droid is D309, who we talked about. That's the droid who appears in your cabin and talks to you via a comm screen.
The logistics droid.
Logistics droid, yeah. Did we ever figure out where in the ship D3 is operating out of?
I do not know.
She operates out of our hearts.
Oh. Maybe the real D309 was the friendship we made along the way.
That's right. Absolutely.
She was with us all along. We are also going to give away a ship model of the Halcyon.
That's awesome.
It lights up. It makes sound effects. It lights up in 2 different color schemes. It lights up blue, which is its normal color scheme, and it will light up red for you because there is a distinct moment when the ship goes into lockdown and everything turns red.
Yes, it does.
So you can recreate that moment with this
For
model.
the order.
If you want to recreate it for the order. Next, we are giving away a Halcyon-specific lightsaber hilt. If you have experienced any of the lightsabers they sell at Doc Ondar's in Galaxy's Edge, this is a similar style, but is a special design that they created for the Halcyon that you use in the lightsaber training pod.
Our nephew has it. It's amazing.
And it's a beautiful piece, and it's customizable. There's a set of buttons with Arabesh letters on them, so you can pick one that's your initial and customize the lightsaber with that. And that is a working lightsaber. So if you have one of the blades from Galaxy's Edge, then you've got a working lightsaber. We're going to give away a copy of the Halcyon comic. This is issue number 4, if I'm not mistaken. The reason we are giving away this specific one is because it was in our cabin as a free giveaway. And I do not believe that was the case on our first trip. But for some reason on this trip, they had planted that in
I
our
wonder if
room.
it's for returning guests because it was same for us.
We got it
on our second voyage.
On your second one.
Interesting.
Oh, that's really cool. And part of the reason we thought it would be cool to give it away is this is not just a random copy that we purchased from a comic book shop. This has been on board the Halcyon.
Yes.
And was in our room, and it's in pristine condition, the way comic book collectors like. So we'd love to pass that on to you. The last item we're going to give away is from Dano of the Dano channel fame, another one of the Instagram community influencers who we really admire. And his videos of his adventures on the Halcyon really inspired us to want to get involved. So Dano fabricates items and sells them on his website. And one of the items is the Ionization stone that you see in front of you here. This is a really nice replica of what you'd actually see if you were standing in the atrium looking through the glass at that compass. And to go with it, he has also fabricated Gaya's microphone that she uses when she's performing in the dining room. So you can, stand in front of the mirror and see how good of a representation of those songs you can do with mic in hand. Yeah. And then also going with that is Gaya's banner that has been kind of burned and distressed. And now that you mention it, I'm wondering if that is the banner that we see in Batuu. Is that what you said?
It's a little bit different, but it's similar.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see some similarities there for sure.
Yeah. So now next time we go, I'm definitely going to be looking out for that. So not promising we won't add more prizes to that lineup, but this gives our community of subscribers a lot more chances to win than a typical episode. But we just love the Starcruiser and its cast and crew so much. We wanted to make sure that everything about this episode was a little bit more than what we would normally do. Oh, we added to the lineup, all right. Hey, everybody, this is Future John interjecting with a few additional prizes that we did add to that lineup. And I'm going to start off with this beautiful Gaya crew pendant, which is made by That Corner in Coruscant, also known as Mars, also known as Mario Suhardi. This is the same pendant you see Wraith and Wani wearing on the ship. And because this is an absolute must-have for any hardcore Gaya fan, we're going to go ahead and add it to the crew pack that we just showed that is made by Dano from the Dano channel. So these are prizes from two of the most awesome makers in the Starcruiser community that we are joining together as one, and these are all going to go to one lucky winner. Okay, the next prize that we're adding is this set of 6 gorgeous character prints that were created by Jody Ray of Jody Ray Prints. That's the name of her Etsy shop, and they are so beautiful. We'd love for you to win them. If you've already subscribed, there's nothing else special you have to do. All you have to worry about is figuring out how to look at them without crying. So if you know the secret to that, let me know. I'll be interested to hear. Good luck with that. All right, the next prize we're adding is this set of Starcruiser themed collector pins made by Galactic Ephemera. These pins are so sweet looking. They actually look even better in person than they do here in these photos. She just released these right around the time of the closing of the Starcruiser, so they're extra special. We've got an As One pin. We have this pin that is made to look like your M-band that you use to scan into important locations and activities when you're on the ship. And then we've got these First Order themed pins, one of which is the Lieutenant Agnon fan club pin, which is an acknowledgement of, in my opinion, one of the hardest working characters in the Star Wars universe. And that is Lieutenant Agnon, who you would actually encounter down on Batuu when you're taking your Batuu excursion at Galaxy's Edge. And this other First Order pin combines the First Order logo with the Chandrila Starline logo. It's just brilliant, beautiful work from an awesome maker. Finally, we've got this beautiful custom Kyber crystal that is emblazoned with the CSL logo. It is gorgeous to look at, but it is also a working Kyber crystal. So if you have a lightsaber that you've built at Savvy's workshop at Galaxy's Edge, where they let you select a Kyber crystal to install inside, you can swap that out with this one, and this one will light up the blade of your lightsaber either white or yellow, depending on which direction it's facing when you install it. It's a beautiful piece of work from an awesome shop. They also have a whole line of other custom Kyber crystals that they have crafted, and that's Crafted Cores. So we're excited for you to win these prizes. All you have to do is subscribe to our YouTube channel. An important thing to know is we cannot see if you've subscribed if you have your subscription set to private. If you'd like to leave them private, that's totally fine. It still works. All you have to do is send me a DM with a screenshot showing that you've subscribed, and then we'll add you to the list manually. Right now, we are finalizing the episode, so we are planning to hold this drawing Tuesday, November 21st at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. And we're going to do that live on our Instagram. So we hope you'll join us for that. We are new to going live on Instagram, so I'm sure it'll go super smooth. And we're excited to give these prizes away, so we hope you'll be there. All right, folks, as we wrap up our Halcyon Tribute special, I really want to thank our guests, Keifer, Jennifer. It just means so much to us that you would come in and spend this time kind of reflecting and
it means so much to us that you would invite us.
Man, it was kind of a no-brainer, but thank you for taking the time.
Thank you so much.
We knew this was going to be a little bit longer than a normal episode. You're such great travel companions. I feel like we've got new permanent friends here. So
absolutely.
And it feels like we've been to space together. Like I have the sense memory of we have been
to space together. We definitely have.
Yeah. So Jennifer, for people who want to follow you and Keifer online and see some of the amazing cosplay that you've put together over the years, where's the best place for them to go and look for you?
Princess_Woodruff on Instagram. Lots of Disney bounding, everything Star Wars, and some cosplays for sure. And then if you really just want to see some funny Star Wars video memes over on TikTok, it's Jedi Princess_Woodruff.
Awesome. This is not casual cosplay either, folks. These are like professionals we're talking to here.
We're
Like,
very amateur.
nope. This is award-winning stuff.
I don't believe it.
I can't get over it.
Yeah.
We need some lessons from you because if we're going to ever do this, like we got to get serious. So as always, we're going to put links in the show notes for all the great stuff that we've been exploring in this episode. That includes links to all the amazing artists, creators, builders, and other folks from this incredible community who've inspired us with their passion, their creativity. As we were prepping the show, this took a small village to make this happen.
It really did.
Gaya's yacht, Vess's very heavily armed, ridiculously overpowered freighter. Such special artistic creations. The Ionization stone, this acrylic Halcyon ship, the asteroid base, the escape pods. Like all of this was just such a wonderful team effort. So I couldn't be more grateful for this. Thank you to all of you. If you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to subscribe so you can catch new episodes as soon as they drop and be eligible for our prize giveaways. I can't emphasize that enough, folks. We love giving stuff away.
Such good prizes.
Please let it, shut up and take our prizes.
Yes.
Please let us give you stuff. If you're listening to our audio podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts and you'd like to see more of what we're doing, check out our YouTube channel. It's at Board Game Cantina. We'll also post the extended gameplay video there. So if you want to check out our Halcyon scenario playthrough of X-Wing miniatures in more detail, that's where you'll find that. Follow us on Instagram at Board Game Cantina for more fun content. We'll even share some behind the scenes sneak peeks about how we're approaching the show. Come visit Board Game Cantina again for our next episode, where we will be exploring Dejeric, the ancient chess-like game we all first experienced in A New Hope. Nice. We promise nobody's arms will get ripped out of any sockets. It's all going to go just fine.
Let the Wookiee win.
And
Just let the Wookiee
we will
win.
most likely let the Wookiee win. And we really hope you'll come and join us for that. So thanks for watching, friends. It just means so much to us to finally be able to share this episode with you. Until next time, I'm going to quote one of our favorite podcasts, The Heroes of the Halcyon. We're going to raise our glasses in the Halcyon toast. Everybody, Tabuite!